Welcome back to the Krueg Show, everybody. Hope everybody's having a phenomenal Monday. Happy Monday. You don't have a case of the Mondays, do you, Dan?
No, I'm having a good Monday. I cleaned house tonight on all my
You cleaned
beds.
your house? Oh, it's good to hear. Oh, it's terrific. Danny cleaned his house, everybody. Wait a second. Let me see. Do we have studio audience? Where's the studio audience? There we go. Hey! Danny.
No, I said
Or maybe Danny cleaned his house? Are you telling me that Dan Coach Emilio actually cleaned his house? All right.
Yeah, I said I cleaned house on my bets.
Oh,
tonight.
You cleaned house. You cleaned house.
I took the Ravens and the money line. That was kind of an easy. No, I took the point spread 1.5. That was kind of easy.
Oh, I filled in today for Damon Bruce on 95.7 The Game, so I got so involved in doing the show that I forgot to wager on the game.
Oh yeah,
but I did love the Ravens in the under. What was the final?
Yeah. I think it was 27 to 13, maybe something like that.
It went under.
Yeah.
And
then I took
Ravens to the under.
Took the Warriors during the game. I went into the live wagering, and I got the Warriors at plus 390 to win. They were down by 10 or 11. It kept changing. I kept putting the bet, hitting it.
You bet them at plus 390?
I did.
How much did you drop?
Let's see. I dropped a total of like 40 or so.
Plus 390?
Yeah. And then I got Curry was at 30 points, and the over under was 37 and a half, and it was plus 110 or something like that. And I was like, shoot, Curry's gonna. So I just put $20 to
learn to be
22.
a degenerate gambler tonight on the Krueg Show.
But Curry after he got that tee,
right?
When he fouled and he got right in the ref's face. I said, Curry's going to get 40 easily after that. And he was ticked. There's no way. Then the next
Curry got teed up.
Yeah. Next possession down, he's like waving that. I can't remember which player it was, but he was like, get out of the way. Like move it. Get down to the baseline. He was so fired up tonight. He was not going to be denied. It was like to him, it seemed like, game 4 in the championship series. He was like,
they had to have this one, man. They were on a 5-game losing streak. They were down 12 at half. Sacramento closed out the first quarter on a 16-2 run. And then Sacramento led at the half 67-55. So, at the half, Sabonis had 14, Fox had 18, Malik Monk had 17. Steph was the only Warrior in double figures. He had 22. But just looking at the first half, Sacramento was plus 15 at the 3-point line, shooting a shocking 46% from beyond the arc. And then Sacramento was plus 6 on the glass. Warriors were plus 10 points in the paint in the first half. But man, Golden State comes back in the fourth quarter. What a run by Steph Curry. He finishes with 47, 8 and 8, 17 of the 47 in the fourth.
Yeah, I knew he was
just basically said, you know what? We've lost 5 in a row. It stopped here.
Yeah, exactly. And Charles Barkley's words about Klay Thompson in that fourth quarter started to look a little prophetic, like Klay's lost a step. Man, he got beat twice to the hoop by Monk.
Monk's faster.
Yeah, one was the layup. The second one was the foul that they challenged that he wasn't shooting. And then the last play against Herter, what was he thinking? He fouled Herter bad. If you look at the replays, you watch, the 2-minute report will come out tomorrow and say they missed it. He got him in 2 places, and then he hit him like really bad on the arm. I'm like, what are you doing? That's like a 40-foot fade away with You just got to throw it up and pray it goes in. And Clay fouled him. I'm like,
he didn't get the call.
No, he didn't get the call. But what in the world was Thompson thinking?
I know. Seriously. I mean, you got to have better awareness than that. But Golden State, despite all of it, gets a 3-point win. 28 for Fox, 24 for Monk, but 47 for Steph to go with 8 points, 8 boards, 25 for Wiggs, 11, 8, and 6 for Draymond. And, I thought it was interesting. I mean, look at the minutes. Steve Kerr played his starters huge minutes.
Yeah. No Wiseman.
No Wiseman to speak of at all.
I mean, Anthony Lamb was taking his spot. And
well, you heard Kerr in the pregame. He came out and basically just said, we're going to move Kuminga, into the lineup. He's going to get more run at 4. And then he said, Michael or Jermichael Green is going to get more run at the 5. Well, what does that tell you? Tells you that the guy who's not going to get any run is James Wiseman. So what are they going to do?
And Green didn't get any. He didn't get any minutes tonight, Jermichael.
Coach's decision. Wiseman didn't play. Neither Jermichael nor Wiseman played.
Exactly. Neither played.
Kuminga only played 9 minutes. He was 5 points. No rebounds, no assists, minus 17 in 5 minutes.
I don't think that experiment lasts too long. I mean, Anthony Lamb was throwing up bricks from threes tonight. He's not the answer out there.
Well, he's not an NBA athlete. He doesn't have NBA length. It's strange to watch him. He's pretty skilled.
Yeah.
I like the way he went to the glass. He did pull 5 rebounds.
He's a rebounder. He plays physical. He plays hard. You got to like that, but
he's an undersized rebounder without a lot of vertical.
What was interesting was at about the 7-8 minute mark of Klay Thompson played 38 minutes tonight. They went from about the 10-minute mark when Curry came back in. He came in like normally he comes in at the 6 or 7 minute mark with 4 minutes in the fourth quarter. He came in with like nearly 10 minutes left, and if you looked at that lineup, the closing lineup that they went the last several minutes of the game was Green, Wiggins, Looney, Curry, and Thompson. They didn't even have Poole on the floor. They put Poole on the floor for free throws the last possession.
Well, they started Poole in the third quarter. They went with the small lineup, and they benched Looney coming out of half, and they went with Poole with Green at the 5. I mean, Poole got nothing done. 22 minutes. He took 4 shots. He made 1. He took 2 threes, didn't make a 3, didn't get to the line, 3 assists, 3 turnovers. So he's got a 1-to-1 turnover to assist ratio tonight, minus 11. I mean, he's just absolutely doing nothing. This guy's
got. What are they paying him? 35 a minute?
Well, I mean, not now.
I mean, it ramps up.
It's going to be 35 a year. Yeah, they're paying him $35 million a year.
But it's like averages. Yeah, it's 25 now, right? Something like that.
No. Right now, it's less than that, I think. I mean, I could call it up if you want
to look it up. But I mean, he got 2 points. He's like, come on.
Yeah. What's happened to him?
I don't know. I just think they're not playing. I don't think they've landed with their offense yet. Kerr's that triangle offense, it's a passing, it's move it around, cuts, backdoor cuts, cuts off screens. You're seeing guys dribble and shoot. Tonight, Sacramento was picking up Curry at way up high, double team him, trapping him.
Smart.
And what are you going to do? You got Looney and Green on the floor, so there's no shooters.
And Clay, Jordan Poole's making $3.9 million this season. Next year, the extension though kicks in 28.7, then 30.9, then 33, then 36. So he's got big cash coming. The average AAV, the AAV average annual value, I think is about 35 million. So come on, that's big money for Jordan Poole, and man, he just has not hit stride at all, and that's a big part of it. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, tonight was in a way kind of sad. I mean, in a way, it's almost pathetic, really. The defending champions at home against Sacramento had to play all of their old guys extended minutes to barely hang on for a 3-point win over a Sacramento Kings squad that hasn't made the playoffs in, 3 different presidential administrations. I mean, it's literally been 15, 16 years since the Kings last made the playoffs, and the Warriors need to play Draymond 36, 40 for Wiggins, 38 for Curry, 38 for Clay, just to secure a win. Yeah. I mean, this should have been called the trust game, because this, basically Kerr just played the guys he trusted. And he doesn't trust anybody else right now. So he's playing, it's like, if you played tonight, big minutes, Steve Kerr officially trusts you. Everybody else, not so much, not so much. So it's, in a way there's, in some ways you could say, hey, it's encouraging. They had a big fourth quarter. Kings had a 10-point lead. What was it? The Kings were up, it was 88-79. Was that what it was? 88-79 going to the fourth? Something like that. I mean, and then, Golden State came back. Curry had that almost 4-point play. It wound up being a 3-point play. He also had a turnaround jumper, hit the shot off the glass. Wiggins hit a big 3, a couple big 3s in the fourth. I thought, Draymond had a big dunk down the stretch. But I mean, you look at that game and you're like, wow, are you encouraged that Golden State ended the losing streak and got in the win column, or are you discouraged that they had to play all of their old veterans like advanced minutes just to get this win over a team hasn't been to the playoffs in decades?
Yeah, well, I think, they're home. They don't play again till Friday. So.
I mean, I understood why they did it, because you're right. Yeah. They don't play Cavs is the next game on Friday. Yeah. I get it, but it's like still kind of like, wow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was kind of like
what you had to do to get a win.
Yeah. No, the bench is weak right now. The bench is one of the worst in the league statistically. And I'm telling you, the 2 biggest pieces they're missing is GP2 and Otto Porter. Those 2 guys were the catalyst. It would have probably been better to sign those 2. And, I don't know what you do.
Well, if Poole's not giving you huge points off the bench, your bench is anemic.
Yeah, I think Poole will get going. I really do. I think it's a combination of, now you've got Anthony Lamb and Ty Jerome, who weren't even in camp until the last, 3-4 days. So they didn't even get to play with these guys. These 2 guys didn't go to Japan with them. They came in late because they let go of Sai's favorite guy. I'm forgetting his name. Quindary Weatherspoon.
Oh, Quindary, yeah. And they moved Travion to the, he got cut. Now he's back on the G League team. By the way, Travion Williams, who I like so much in the preseason, I was telling you about him, the kid from Purdue. Right. I saw the other night in the G League, 18 rebounds. Wow. 18 rebounds for Travion Williams.
Yeah, I mean,
not bad.
I think some things, as I look at this bench, it's what Ryan says. Oh, sorry. I've been doing damage control. Be there. Ryan will be here in a little bit. Okay. All right. Had a little technical miscue.
My brother, who's a big Kings fan, has texted me, and he says, we were robbed. It was completely a foul on the last shot.
It was. I don't even know why Clay, if you're going to foul him, he should have just tackled him as soon as he touched the ball before he went up for the shot and given him 2 shots. But
it's so hard in the NBA to reverse, when you're one of the haves, and when you're talking about the haves and the have-nots, I don't think there's any other sport in America where you feel it like you feel it in the NBA.
Yeah.
Because everything works against you.
Yep.
The Warriors can get good players like, Bielitsa and Otto Porter last year to take the league minimum, right. While, the Kings have to overpay, to get anybody.
Right.
And then, the Kings wanted to take, they may have wanted to take Jaden Ivey instead of Keegan Murray. Right. Jaden Ivey's clearly an incredible athlete.
Oh, yeah.
Jaden Ivey wouldn't work out for them. Right. So now they like Keegan Murray and they think, highly of Keegan Murray, and maybe, who knows, Keegan Murray might wind up being the rookie of the year. But you see what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah.
Ivy, I think your fans wanted you to take Ivy. At least some of them did. Right. And you didn't take him because he basically told you, I don't want to play for you. I want to play for the Pistons in my hometown.
Hey, did you answer your brother's text?
Yes, I did. I said it was.
You said, yeah, you should have just said, yeah, it was a bad call, bad no call, but the call on Curry on his shot where he was fouled and then he got the tee. So that's 2 points.
What about the call early in the game where they got Fox on the wrist, and that also was a no call. Even Fitz admitted, he's like, man, I want that call if I'm the Warriors.
Yeah.
So, I just feel like, championship teams are ultimately going to get a few more calls. Championship teams are going to get guys to come to their team for less money. The Lakers never would have gotten Shaq if they weren't the Lakers, when Shaq opted to go there. You know what I mean? It's like I feel bad for teams like Sacramento because let's be honest, if you're a Warrior fan and you're honest with yourself, we were Sacramento. Now I'll drop a we, right? We were Sacramento.
That's fact.
For years and years and years, the Warriors were Sacramento. So if you're a Warrior fan and you're a long-term Warrior fan, you should totally not just understand where Sacramento fans are coming from, but feel their plight and also kind of feel how overwhelming it feels.
We were Sacramento to a point, but we had
when you're on the outside looking in.
We had a championship in '75. They've never even been to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, but I mean, no, come on. No, you're not getting this. The 75 title. So what?
Sure,
My God.
Yeah,
that's a long freaking time ago.
Yeah, what are you, a Dodgers fan?
No.
75. I was born in 70. Basically my entire life.
Yeah,
I mean, there's generations.
But
they've only been there. Finals. Yeah, but they've only been there since '89, and they got robbed by a crooked official in 2002
against the Lakers. Yeah, they got.
Yeah, I mean, come on, they got robbed. But what I'm saying is just that I do feel. I was just saying right before you jumped on here.
Yeah,
is that I feel like in basketball more so than some of the other sports in America, like the NFL and MLB, if you're one of the haves, it's like life is good. And if you're one of the have-nots, life is very hard. And everything about it is hard. Like, it's hard to get players to work out for you. And I mean, it's like you have to like stand up to the bully in the playground if you want to not be like a nobody in the NBA. I mean, the Warriors were literally a nobody until Don Nelson and Larry Riley told Del Curry and Steph Curry, you ain't forcing your way past us. If you're here, we're taking you. And that's where this whole thing shifted. The Warriors didn't take Steph. They wouldn't want to won all those titles. They wouldn't be where they're at now. And it took one moment for a super courageous and bold combo of Don Nelson and Larry Riley to basically stare down this have-nots, force of nature and basically say, no, our evaluation is you're the best. We're drafting you. So get used to it. Go price homes in the Bay Area. You're here. And I almost feel like Sacramento is going to have that moment as well, where it's like, I mean, the most pathetic play of the night, guys, we even talk about it. They couldn't not get a foul on Steph Curry. Sacramento only had 1.3 or 1.5 or whatever it was on their final sequence. That should have been 3.5 seconds, 4 seconds, right? I mean, they clearly wasted how many, 2-3 seconds right there, just hovering around Steph instead of fouling him. I mean, you got to know your situation. Mike Brown was rolling his eyes. He was like, oh my God, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry were laughing.
Yeah, no, I mean, back to the Kings' sadness, like it's going to take something like, for example, like if they did draft Luka, like Central Valley King says, like that would change things because then everyone would be tuning in and they'd be a league.
They took Bagley. They took Bagley over Luka because they didn't want to take the ball out of Fox's hand.
And then
they knew they would be by taking Luka.
To make your point, Larry, and to kind of S on Dan's point. So I was looking up. So I remember there was no. Hey,
let the man talk. Let the man talk.
Nobody puts S on me.
So the fourth longest playoff drought in NBA history was the Warriors I was born in 1995. From 1995 until 2007, no playoffs.
And they weren't, believe me, between 75 and 95. That's 20 years.
Yeah,
they weren't ripping it up then either.
They weren't bad in the 80s with TMC.
They were bad.
No, you had Run TMC.
Do you know how many games Run TMC won?
They were exciting.
You know how many games they won? Like 42.
Yeah,
Go 42 and 40.
They were relevant.
42 and 40 is basically 500. They were fun. They were fun. They were fun. Tommy T and Timmy and Mitch and Chris and Nelly and T-Gold.
Tommy T started a game. It was opening night in Denver, and the Warriors won 168 to 165. and Tommy T scored 16, and it was
160.
Both teams. It was like 168 to 165 opening night.
Wow.
I want to say it was. I saw it the other day on Twitter pop up, and it was like, oh my goodness, Tolbert, man, he looked totally different.
Let's hit the chat. We got a bunch of regulars in the chat today. Val Ramos in the house. Let's go Warriors winning by 3 with 1:23 left. Look at Val Ramos jumping in the stream early on. MF jumped in. Let's go. I mean, that's MF yelling at us. Like, let's start this damn show. I think. Is that what he's saying?
Hey, Nick is out there.
I just noticed they pushed out the stream 30 minutes. Man, we did, but we're here now.
Well, we were actually came on early. We came, yeah. If it was 30 minutes, we would have just started 5 minutes ago, and we've been on for 22.
There you go. Monday Night Football goes to the Ravens, and Roquan Smith looked like he was a difference maker. I mean, Roquan Smith, if you want to say who won at the trade deadline, you win at the trade deadline when you trade for the best players. Simple as that. And so I would say McCaffrey is the best offensive player, but Roquan Smith is the best defensive player. And here's the question I would have for you guys. Does the addition of Roquan, that obviously improves this defense, and then you saw the depth of the Ravens offensively with Isaiah Likely. I want to
face them in the playoffs from Buffalo or Kansas City.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Where is the AFC a 2-team race?
No.
Or do you give Miami?
It's a 4-team race.
Do you give Miami and the Ravens? Do you give them some love? Do you believe in Miami? Do you believe in the Ravens, or is it Buffalo, Kansas City?
No, it's a 4-team race. I think.
What do you think, Ryan?
I think Buffalo and KC are the favorite, but it's a 4-team race.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still sticking with Baltimore as my I think before the year, I think I was Baltimore Niners. I'm sticking with it. What Vrabel did on Sunday night was so eye-opening, just because it's like, I know he plays Kansas City well every time. It was just a reminder, like one of the Bills or the Chiefs, we're not going to get Bills Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. That's just too good. That's too nice. It's not going to happen. Some team is going to play upset. They're going to play spoiler.
Really? I think so. Who's it going to be?
I mean, I think that the Titans could easily knock either of them off.
Titans D-line really did dominate. I'll tell you the other one that was, you were talking about reputation versus, like Sacramento and the Warriors and the different status. How about this different status between Kelsey and the DB that he ripped his helmet off and he got defensive holding call on the guy?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was one of the worst. That was one of the most egregious, missed calls of the year. I mean, literally just came up out of his stance on the line of scrimmage and ripped the guy's helmet right off his shoulders. And the defender got called for defensive hold. I mean, it was like, excuse me?
Oh, yeah. That was the play in the end zone?
Yeah, the play in the end zone.
Yeah. I know.
That's criminal. That was absolutely criminal.
Isn't it just insane that, like, the Titans I mean, like when the Chiefs came to San Francisco to play, that after that game, the story was like, oh, like what? Like obviously it was the defense, but it was a lot of bagging on the offense. And it's like you look at Tennessee's defense. The Titans had 22 yards of offense and 1 first down in the entire second half of the game, and they still took it to overtime, and it took a bunch of Mahomes magic. It's crazy. I don't know if that just means that Mahomes is a little more affected by like the pressure in the interior or what.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, Kansas City just doesn't bring it every week. Yeah. They lost to Indy. They lost to Indy. No, they played terrible in that game. They made some key mistakes in this game. And, credit Tennessee. Tennessee, I mean, I'll tell you what's amazing to me is that how can a team that has wide receivers about as productive as if they put the 3 of us out there.
Yeah.
How do they continue to run Derrick Henry when everybody in the world knows that their wide receivers are, going to be like second string at San Jose State? I mean, they get nothing. They get nothing at wide receiver, and they run Derrick Henry, and teams act like they're shocked by Derrick Henry. What else are they going to do?
Seriously, it's like I would think about going goal line package. Just
dare them. Just get up on the line of scrimmage and strangle them, and just don't let the receivers get off the line, and just force them to force them out of their run game. Instead, Derrick Henry just keeps rumbling.
I mean, Larry, if you're the Houston Texans coach who is it, Lovie Smith? If you're Lovie Smith before that game, you have to know, okay, the last 2 times we played this guy, they had Tannehill and Derrick Henry ran for over 200 yards. Today they've got Malik Willis. He's going to maybe complete between 4 and 7 passes. We're going to be running the hell out of the ball. Let's just stuff the freaking box. No, well, you know what? Henry just got 200 yards again for the 3rd straight time versus them, and Malik Willis.
Hey, speaking of
where was Willie Gay? Where was
yards,
Nick Bolton? Where were these guys?
Have you seen the stats for the Chargers last 6-7 games? How much they've given up?
They're giving up 175 yards a game on the ground.
Man, this is going to be a McCaffrey-Mitchell game next Sunday night.
Is Mitchell back Sunday night?
Yeah,
I think so. I think so.
I agree, Danny. It's going to be, feed Elijah and just run it down their throat. There's no reason not to. You're right. Cause I looked at those numbers as well. And I'm like, wow, Chargers cannot San Diego. I want to call them San Diego. The Chargers just cannot stop the run at all. So, and they've got some great pass rushers. So why don't drop back to pass, run it.
Pro Bowlers everywhere and a defensive coach, and their defense has sucked for the last 2 years in a row.
Yeah. No, it's amazing.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah. I see a lot of people in the chat that are really talking about the Warriors. I do want to address this one, though, by Mario.
We'll get this one. B Guy says, what's up with Jordan Poole?
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Well, talk about Warriors, but real quick, who's ever my felonious fantasy football trades? Come on. I'm not making – I made some good
felonious?
trades. Felonious? Is that like it's a felony?
Felonious?
How do you say that? Felonious?
I'd say felonious.
Yeah, it sounds like balonious. Yeah, that's baloney, Mario.
That's felonious.
What is more tired, Danny's fantasy trades or his late July pre-trade deadline trades?
Oh my goodness.
Danny will always you'll be having a really nice conversation with him, and then out of nowhere he'll be like, "Hey, I got a trade for you." And then it's like it's always like, "No, I don't want to do that trade."
My season, I have to win out, and that was just so incredibly sweaty.
Did you win?
By 0.28.
Oh my God, 102.62 to 102.34. You beat Calba.
I had Lamar and he had Will Lutz. So there was just so many ways. Like, if Lamar kneeled the ball down 3 times, I would have lost, but instead they kicked the punt.
Danny here on says, take a flyer on Dwight Howard. Well, Nick says that. Dwight Howard has officially signed to play in Taiwan.
Oh, I was going to say
right.
Slovenia.
Taiwan. He's going to play. Yeah, he's just signed this afternoon. He's going to play in Taiwan.
Oh boy.
Oh wow, is he going for like the Marbury where he like is like just a god, like just dominating everyone?
I mean, let me ask you this. This would be my question for you guys. Knowing what you know about Dwight Howard, I mean, I could look it up right now. Maybe I will. What do you guys? First of all, why don't we guess this? This is always fun. Gary and I used to play this game. We'd name a player and then we'd guess what is their career earnings. What would you guys guess career earnings for Superman?
How many years
does that include endorsements or just salary?
No, just on the floor, just salary.
Oh, I'd say 290.
Yeah, he signed with the Taiwanese team. Let's see. Let me.
I'm going to say 250.
Okay, I'll tell you here in just a second. But I mean, do you think Dwight is still playing because he loves the game, or is he playing for the paycheck? Because I mean,
he's just not done. He's probably thinking he might be able to get a sign as a free agent somewhere, second half of the season. Somebody sees that he's in shape and that he
does have a lot of baby mamas.
Okay, here we go. Come on, stop. All right, he's played in the NBA. His rookie year was 04-05. Go ahead. We'll see who can get the closest between. I know it now, so I won't be in it. But guess how much money Dwight Howard has made in the NBA, not with endorsements, just with salary.
I said 250. Rice said 290.
I'm going up to 305 though.
Danny said what? 250?
Yeah, I'll go to 255.
Danny's the winner. 247.8.
Oh, I should have stayed at 250.
247.8 for Dwight. So let me ask you guys this. He's playing in Taiwan. Is he playing in Taiwan because he loves to play? Is he playing in Taiwan because he wants to make more money?
I think he's, like I said, I think he's playing to get in shape and that he's going to try and catch on with a team in February, March as a free agent and try and, find a playoff team. Wants to play. Yeah.
Honestly, I kind of feel like he might just be he just like, I don't really know what I want to do and I don't really want to move on to the next phase of my life. So why don't I just go travel a little bit, get paid a bunch? And I just don't. He's kind of a weird dude. He has a bunch of pet snakes, so you can't really trust him.
The Warriors and Kings are next to each other in the standings. Who will wind up with more wins at the end of the year?
Oh, Warriors.
No doubt. You said it with great confidence.
Yeah, no doubt.
The Warriors' older guys are looking older, and they're younger.
It's early. They're 11 games into the season.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's early. The Warriors will win.
Okay, here's another one here.
50.
B guy, what's up with Jordan Poole?
He's been really disappointing. I mean, I've been saying it from the beginning. He just doesn't look. He looks completely. He does not look like the guy that was trying to fit in. Now all of a sudden he looks like simultaneously like he's playing a little more selfish and one-on-one, but also hesitant at the same time. So it's like it's just not a good combination.
It's weird. It's like before he was playing like when he was playing minutes on the floor with the the Warriors stars, he was like respectful but like explosive scoring. Now he seems like he's a little bit more free to kind of dribble around, but the explosive scorer is gone, and they need him to be an explosive scorer.
They'll fix the problem this week, a lot of the things, because that road trip, there's no practice. You're just going out there and playing ball, and you got bad habits going, and you can't practice to correct. So tomorrow you'll see them take the vets. They'll just say, stay home. They probably won't even show up for a shoot around.
Will there be no practice again?
No, Tuesday. But they got Wednesday, Thursday. They'll practice, and they will put Wednesday's going to be a very strenuous, very intense practice with a lot of the.
It's an NBA practice. They're going to run these guys in an NBA practice. Dan's watched too much Hoosiers.
Yeah, when I say intense,
everybody on the baseline.
When I say intense, I mean
yeah, right.
Kerr's going to make them work the offense and have them moving the ball around.
Run it again. Like that? Will you say that?
I don't know. Should bring in my brother on that.
No, I think it's going to be more like it's going to be all right. 8 passes before you guys can shoot.
Hey guys, did you vote? Let me see your sticker. Kev F says Jordan Poole keeps deferring on offense.
Well, that's what I like that they put him in. They put him in the starting lineup in the second half after 0 points in the first.
What do you think of this one? Paul Perriman says Warriors win the championship and 10 games into the next season, the world is falling apart. Yeah. B guy says exactly, Paul. And then Haruku Hitoki says maybe someone punched Poole in the face and faced zero discipline. I don't think Draymond's punching of Poole has literally anything to do at all with their struggles to begin this season. Where are you guys on that?
I agree. I don't think it has anything to do with his struggles.
I think there's a little bit of a weird, funky vibe that it started the year off with as just a vibes kind of check. Because
is that their issue? Is their issue vibe related, or is their issue skill related and the lack of progression from Wiseman and Kuminga?
I'd say it's like 50-50, because normally when you win the championship, you get to have that, okay, now we're rolling in with the freaking confidence and our nuts hanging down and we're just about to dominate everyone because we just won the championship and all these guys just got freaking branded like champions, like Wiggins and Poole, all these guys. And instead it just kind of, it caused the beginning of the year to just kind of be a little awkward, a little weird. They don't look like they have their same Warriors machismo. They don't look like they are confident. Except it looks like just Steph and Wiggins. And like that,
it does look like the only people that are comfortable seem like Steph and Wiggins. Kevin F says you can't pay Poole $30 million and put him in the corner, park him in the corner. Nobody puts Jordan Poole in the corner. What's that from? Danny? Danny? Rye?
Rocky.
What's the movie reference? Nobody puts Jordan Poole in the corner.
I know the line.
Nobody puts baby in the corner. Anybody?
I don't know. What is that?
Dirty Dancing.
Hey, I was listening to. Speaking of,
did you guys see? Did Rye's never even heard of Dirty Dancing?
Speaking of some sayings, I get the NBA streaming, so I decided, you know what? I've listened to Bob Fitzgerald for years and years, and when I was listening to Sacramento broadcast, it was I go, man, this voice sounds like a national voice. I feel like is this game on national TV tonight? And I'm keep listening, and then all of a sudden they go to a break, and it's Mark Jones. That's
the Kings announcer.
Yeah, I didn't realize that he was the announcer for the Kings. So anyway, he was making some crazy.
He replaced Grant Napier.
Yeah, he said when Curry was smoking in the fourth quarter, he goes, "Curry's hotter than fish grease," and.
He was. Oh my God. Yeah. Curry had this look of determination. You would have thought this was another game in the finals against the Celtics.
It reminded me of game 4 in the finals, in that he also was like, he was getting in the refs like early and staying on them because their free throw differentials have been just horrendous.
Oh, what are they, minus 31 in the game the other night?
Yeah. It's been like every game's been like minus 20 on that whole road trip. So he was just getting it, and he was just like essentially like, everyone get on my back. I'm going to put the pressure on myself. And he was so good. I don't know. If you could rank order like the players you're most nervous about,
I'd say Wiseman 1, Poole 2. I'm not worried at all about Kuminga. I feel like I know exactly what Kuminga is. Kuminga is an undersized post player who can, has freaky athleticism and a questionable outside shot. And and that's it. And then play him the way you want to play him. I mean, does he have a super high basketball IQ? No, but if he did, he would be, one of the greatest players of all time because he's got a physical profile that's probably second to none in the league. I mean, you're talking about 6'8", 6'9", long arms, quick jumper, one of the greatest athletes in the league. I mean, he's an incredible physical athlete, and he's really, really young. But he just doesn't have the kind of handle or the kind of confidence or consistency or, perimeter shot making ability. He doesn't have some of the things that he will have in 5 years. But I really like him. I don't know that, to me, Wiseman's the guy I'm worried the most about because he just looks so, I'm watching him the other day. He sets a pick. There's nothing else for him to do but dive to the hole. 1,000, no dive. 1,000, no dive. Now guys on the Warrior bench are yelling, dive, dive, dive. And James, dive. I mean, they seriously had time to say his name. And then he dove and he got the pass and he still made it. So that's got to be second nature. That's just...
I think he's still he's raw.
Of course he's raw. But I'm just saying,
I'm not worried
he's
about
like a college. He's like a college sophomore right now.
I'm not worried about him because he's really just learning the game. He's
rank order your power rank, your three things you're working.
So him one, Poole two. Then if I got to have a third person, I'd probably say I really don't. My whole thing. Well, it's either name three people or three things. My thing would be Wiseman's my number one concern. Poole's my number two concern. And I would say transition awareness and defense. I've seen the Warriors already give up multiple layups where they made the bucket and then they just turned around and lost sight of the ball. And that's just lack of focus, lack of, I don't know what that is, but it has to be eradicated. So I'd say transition D would be my number three. What do you guys got?
My three would be a veteran that they don't have on the team right now is off the bench. There's a missing piece. Last year it was Porter and GP2. They were very key to the Warriors. Both of those players would have been tough for the Warriors to win it all with one of them gone. Now you got both of them gone. So, and you really have replaced that with JaMychal Green, who I think will get better. DiVincenzo's been hurt, so we haven't seen him. I think they're going to get better. Wiseman's not so much of a concern to me in the sense that I think he'll get better by the second half. And he's going to struggle, though. You're going to have some growing pains. But long term, I'm not worried about Wiseman. If he's this way, next year in the middle of the season, yeah, and then I start to worry, like maybe this guy, but he needs time. The third thing.
How about Klay Thompson? Where are you on Klay?
Hey, you just took. Hey, let me finish there, Larry. I was just going to go with Klay.
Oh,
man.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's my guy. Yeah, third. I'm a little worried about.
I was
Klay.
overeager there. Overeager on my Klay.
Klay is my little bit worried because a couple things I'm seeing with him defensively. He's a little slow, and then he's. It's almost like his instincts aren't there for the game. That foul on Herter was like a rookie mistake. I mean, that was just, I don't even know how you foul him like that. And the fact that his shot selection, if he's not wide open and gets the shot, that's Klay's game though. The night he got 37 in the third quarter, he dribbled the ball 4 times. Or I should say the night he got 60 against Indiana, he dribbled the ball 11 times and he got 37, hardly dribbling at all. His game is catch and shoot. And for some reason, Klay is trying to drive. And I mean, even the last shot of the game, and I know it was kind of threw it to him and he had no time, but it's just, we're seeing that all the time though. Klay's driving. He gets
Well,
caught up
I'll
in
give
the
you
air.
one thing that I see is that I think that because of the injuries he's had to the legs, and he's had two major surgeries,
Right.
The Achilles and the ACL. I mean, they're major surgeries. I think that he's lost a little bit of his strength on his outside shot. I'll tell you the look that I really like. You know, you start to watch these teams and you watch these players, and they do a lot of the same things night after night after night, and you start to get a feel for what's going to go and what's not going to go. The thing that I really like that Clay does is when I think teams are bailing him out when you sprint at him at the 3-point line. Let him shoot that three, because he's very inconsistent with it, and the shot gets a little flat sometimes. It hits the front rim.
Does his shot look a little flatter this year?
It looks a little flatter. I would say with the one that I love, the play that I just feel best about Clay. I'm eager to see what you guys think when I say this. When he's got the three, somebody closes out on him. He pounds the dribble, 2 dribbles inside the 3-point line, and then rises and fires. The percentage on that on the makes on that got to be really, really high. So to me, that just tells me that he's still this dead-eye shooter that he's always been.
Oh yeah,
but it's just he's lost a little strength on the shots with big range. So if he can shoot more, I know it's the worst shot in basketball, the deep 2, but if he can shoot more 2s with the shoulders squared, I think that's how he's going to help this team. And then shoot the 3 with a little bit less frequency, and only when you're really rolling or really wide open. You know what I'm saying? His 3 is hitting the front rim so much, and it's dead on, but it hits the front rim. So I'd like to see him pound the dribble and shoot some 2s.
I'm not sure. It might be, like you say, the leg strength. I do believe Clay, by this, first part of 23 January, after that halfway point where you played 35 games, whatever, 40 games, I think Clay's going to start getting more into a rhythm. Right now, I mean, we've played 11 games. He's only played, in 9 or 10 of them? He hasn't played in the back-to-back, so maybe he's played 9. And he didn't practice all summer, right? He didn't do pickup games because he had that tear of his Achilles in the summer pickup. So he's kind of, and I understand it, you get a little funky with it. And so he just that's why he was on a minutes restriction. I really do think Clay will, because he's such a gamer. I think by sometime January, you're going to see a different Clay, where you may even start to see all-star Clay again.
Okay. My 3 would be number 1. The thing I'm the most concerned about, and it's not particularly close for me, it's Clay. Clay's number 1 concern. I think that he needs to be moved to the bench. It's not only that, but it's also, Jordan Poole's not. He's not. Jordan Poole needs to be surrounded by veterans still. They kind of thought that he could be this guy that's like a Curry light that can kind of organize the whole offense in the second unit. He can't do that. So you got to start Poole. It obviously worked last year before Clay came back. Put Clay in the second unit. That way, if he's taking these shots and he's taking these kind of shots that, we all see it and we're like, that's not a great shot. Well, maybe it's a great shot in the second unit when they're struggling to get offense. But
when start Poole and bring Clay off the bench.
Bring Clay off the bench. Because it's like if he takes those shots in the first unit, it's like, dude, that's a horrible shot, because that could have been. I'd rather Steph take a fadeaway turnaround 3 from 40 feet. But in the second unit, when they're struggling to get offense, yeah, Clay, do your thing. And also, I think he could get reinvigorated in that role, sort of. I think he's trying to find himself right now, and he's trying to figure out, he's coming to terms with the fact that he is not ever going to be the same guy that he was. And that's going to be really tough for him. And I think
he's there. I think he thinks he can still get there.
I don't know, Danny. When the other day, when the way he addressed Barkley, he wasn't like, "Hey, I haven't regressed." He's like, "Of course I've regressed." He's coming to grips with.
Oh, but he was saying,
reality.
"Give me time." He was like, "Give me time, dude. I've just only played 40,
yeah, but I
games."
mean, I maybe that's what you took from it. I took from it. It's like, hey, come on, man. I had 2 major surgeries. Of course I'm going to be diminished, which is, I think, the logical response.
Yeah, but he did close it out, and he says, "I'm going to just wait, man. I'm going to have."
Well, I mean, hey, all he can do is be fired up and do what he can do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but the reality is, we're all human. I mean,
yeah. I think tonight
you don't just get you don't
shots. I think tonight, the fact that he played 38 minutes, got beat by Monk down, the stretch a couple times. I think then he fouled Herter on the last shot. I think he was tired. He had to be exhausted because he hasn't played over 25 minutes to go from 25 minutes to 38 tonight.
Yeah, it sounds like he would do well on the bench. No, wait. So I haven't even finished my thing. So Clay has to move to the bench. He's got to realize, look, Iguodala came in. Iguodala was a star. He was like a star player. He was like their big contract star player. And Kerr convinced him to go to the bench. Clay's got to do the same. It's not, I'm seeing people in the chat are saying Manu. Yeah, it's not a demotion. He's still going to get the same amount of minutes, but it's just, for the chemistry of the roster, it's not working with him in the starting lineup, especially because he can't play defense. So if you're not going to play defense, you have to be more of a creator.
What do you think of this? Okay, because I know this is.
I don't like Clay in the second unit. I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because he has to become the primary scorer, and he's better when he's receiving the ball off screens. And if he's the primary guy out there that can shoot, they're just going to do what they do to Curry. And Clay forces up shots. He's best when Curry.
And he's forcing those shots in the first unit right now.
Yeah, I know he is.
What do you think of this? I mean, okay, first of all, if I said, give me one player you want to play less, one player you want to play more, and one player you think should be dealt, what do you got?
Okay, well, I guess I'll just finish quickly. The number 2 thing I'm worried about is Poole. I think it can be solved though by that moving him to the starting lineup. He's just I'm actually kind of I was confused when I heard that he got more money than Wiggins. Wiggins should be getting more money than Poole. Wiggins is the second best player on the team, and it's not he is that guy almost every night. It's kind of stupid that Poole is making more. And then my third one that I'd be worried about is just Draymond. Down the line, Draymond rumors about trades and stuff that's going to heat up around the deadline.
So, what's your one guy you want to play?
Yeah,
more?
Who's the one guy you'd play less then?
Play more, play less, and trade.
The one guy I would definitely play more is Moody. I'd play the shit out of Moody. I'd actually start Moody even if you move Clay down. I would like the idea of moving Clay and Dre down together, and that way it's at least they're demoted together. It doesn't feel as much like a demotion if you're both,
I agree. That's what I was going to say. I think that I would make it less personal. See, because if you move one guy, it's like, hey man, you're the reason our shit's fucked up.
Yeah.
And so if you move them both, you're like, hey, look, you guys are Hall of Famers and the leaders on the team. Take one for the team. Let's see if we can do this to get the other guys going. Wow. So I think I would play guys like Kuminga and Moody more. And I think I would play Klay Thompson a little less. And I would seriously consider trading James Wiseman. Because I don't know, and now granted that could look really, really bad in 3 years. So you can't do it for nothing. I've seen these trade him to the Spurs for Jakob Poeltl. I mean, come on. No, please no. But if there was a player that you could get that you felt had some significant upside that you weren't selling super, just because, there's a very good chance 3 years from now, James Wiseman could be wrecking you know, just owning the lane and dominating, and you're going to have to watch it for the next decade. So that could be painful. So you got to get something good in return. But I don't know. I mean, I would.
What would you? I just don't even know what's out there for him, because I feel like his value is so depressed, and there's no way like Lacob and all these guys are going to think like, oh, I mean, he's like this, he still is this potentially great player, and he's going to probably be a great player, but it's down the line.
It depends what you think. I mean, like, if you think that he really can't play, then trading him sooner, you're going to get more. If you think that, obviously there's incredible upside there and that he's going to get it, then yeah, you're selling short on a player that you drafted second overall. So yeah, I mean, you got to kind of know what you're doing, but to me, it's like there's just something about James Wiseman. His lack of feel is just startling. It's like he doesn't catch lobs. He seems out of place. He seems uncomfortable. The things that are that you would think would be basic, like, hey, challenge every shot, go hard to the glass. He doesn't really do that. He doesn't challenge every shot. He doesn't seem like he has this innate rebounding skill. It's like there's sometimes pass rushers, you're like, man, the guy's got a knack. Well, same thing with rebounders. Hey, you know what? One guy's 6'8", 240, and he grabs every rebound. The other guy's 6'8" and 240, and he never grabs any rebounds. How do you explain it? Well, it's an instinct, right? Some guys have it and some guys don't. And instead of analyzing it, just make sure you see, what you're drafting when you draft it. So yeah, he's 7'1", he's 245, 255, probably, maybe on his way to 265. And he's athletic as hell, but I'm not seeing, that's my big concern, is I don't see the natural rebounding instinct. Do you guys? I mean, if I want to see it, like, I really want to love James Wiseman because on paper he's a great prospect, but I don't know. I mean, it just seems like Kerr is sending him a loud message that, whatever you're doing, mix it up. And Danny, everybody joked or laughed at when Danny was like, yeah, send Kuminga. Wasn't it Kuminga you were sending to the G League? But it's not. It's now, forget Kuminga. It's Wiseman. Wiseman needs to go to the G League. Wiseman needs to play nightly, lots of minutes, and figure out the game and figure out how he fits in the game. And you know what I mean? I think that the best thing they could do for Wiseman is let him go to Santa Cruz and just play and play and play and play and play. Did I say Phoenix? I meant Santa Cruz.
Yeah, Santa Cruz. Yeah, I'm looking at this roster, and they have the two-way guys are Lamb and Jerome. And I know Andre's on there, but they have 14 roster spots, but I count 12 that were suited up tonight, but 2 of them were two-ways. So who's missing besides DiVincenzo? Is there someone on the roster that is missing that I'm
Rollins,
that's it. Was he at the G League? Did he didn't even
they sent Rollins and Baldwin to Santa Cruz.
That's right. Rollins and Baldwin. Man, they are young. I think they need another veteran. I really do. I think this team they've got Rollins. If you look at the young guys, really, I consider Wiseman like barely a second-year guy. Okay, I mean, so you got Wiseman, Kuminga, Moody, Rollins, and Baldwin. 5 guys.
Yeah, they got 5 guys under 22, I think.
Yeah, that are that's really young. And I think that last year it worked because you had GP2.
Because those guys didn't play.
And Bielisa. They played at times. They played at times, but they were role players more than expected contributors.
They were not rotation guys.
Yeah, they weren't every night rotation guys. So I think they're going to need, DiVincenzo can help. Maybe that helps Green get Jermichael Green get a little uncorked with having another veteran out there. But when you got all these young guys, I mean, there's a lot of times you're looking at Kerr and he's like yelling and, telling them where to go. And they're like, like tonight after Curry got teed, he's running down the court and he's like telling somebody like, go. And he was mad. He was like really ticked. Curry, he has somewhat of patience, but only so far with, I think, some of these young guys. He wants to win. He wants to win bad. You heard, like you said, Draymond the other night. You were quoting Draymond that said, we're motivated. This guy Steph's motivated. I'm motivated.
Yeah, all the veterans are motivated.
Yeah. Well, you got a lot of young guys that might even be starstruck.
Well, I mean, also let's be honest. I mean, there's guys on this team that have rings that just, what do they do? They didn't do anything. They just have a ring.
Yeah.
So you got some guys like that, and you got some guys who have 4 rings, and I mean, they got 2 different teams. I mean, this is very rare. This is a strange roster configuration because you got literally 2 teams. You've got an old team that's one, and a young team that won last year, and maybe thinks that they've arrived because they've won. And in reality, many of those young players, if not all of those young players, have major skill development on their plate. And they may be walking around like, hey, man, I'm a champion. So maybe that deep down is the problem. And if that is the problem, then Kerr's going to have, he's going to have to shake it up a little bit and, basically tell people what's the color of the sky in Warrior Land. You know what I mean? Because there may be some guys that are just a little bit, in that entitled mode. Like, hey, man, we're damn good. Wait a second. No, Steph's damn good. I'm not saying that you didn't contribute. You contributed, but push comes to shove, you were along for the ride. And now it's time. And now you're asking those guys that were along for the ride to like drive the bus on that second unit. I just would like to see, I'll tell you one thing for Jordan. I'd like to see him playing with somebody in that second unit that, I almost would prefer, if you were going to move just one guy from the starting lineup to the second unit, I'd move Green. Because I would like to see Green, who's obviously a great distributor, great, facilitator, super smart player, understands spacing, is like so expert around Steph. Let's see him work with Poole. These guys, he punched them. Now let's see if they can play together. Make them play together. Make Draymond set up Poole just continuously on that second unit. And then, because I think the Warriors have really 2 problems. I think the main problem that everybody can see are 3 problems. Wiseman and Kuminga are super raw. That's one. The second unit doesn't score. I mean, they really struggle, especially with Poole struggling. But the first unit doesn't rebound. And that's because there's nobody who's super quick to the basketball without GP2 on this team. So I would take Draymond and bring him off the bench, force him to play with Poole, let him set up Poole, and then play Kuminga in the starting group with Looney, because they need Kuminga to get to the loose balls and the threes.
Is the phone ringing there? What's the text me that number? I know my brother actually is calling because he's listening to us. He's gonna.
Matt Wright donates $9.99. Says Wiseman needs a Sunday dinner, or at least a Marucci sandwich number 8 to get some bulk. Hoping this guy doesn't turn into a Patrick O'Brien or an Anthony Randolph. Look at that.
He's got all the the difference between Wiseman. Why I can't.
It's a Walnut Creek reference there, Marucci sandwich. I do like
the Walnut Creek reference. I can't quit Wiseman because the most difficult things to grasp that you're kind of either just born with or you're not, he has. And it's the touch. It's the God-given size and ability to run the court. It's the personality seems good. He's
a great kid. They love him.
you can tell he just wants to explode so badly. He wants to be just crazy block shots and sick, things that end up on ESPN that are just going to fire the team up. I just don't. I think that. I mean, I'm looking back at the roster last year. I know we say okay, GP and Porter, but like GP barely even played at the beginning of the year, and they started like 18-1, and that team was no Klay Thompson. It was Steph, Poole, Wiggins, Draymond, Looney, Damian Lee, Iguodala, JTA, Moody, Otto Porter, Bielitsa. It's not like it was like anything that crazy. It's just more that like everyone kind of knew their role. And I think that Klay, I don't know. I think Klay's kind of screwing things up. I'm worried about Klay. I'm worried that Klay, is this the last year on his deal? Because I would not even come close to like if he
Klay Thompson. No, he's under contract this year for 40.6. Next year he's under contract for 43.2.
So I mean,
he's got one more year after this year.
Hey Rye, that phone is it hooked up, or because he said he was trying to get through, it wouldn't.
Jaguar 56 donates $2. His trade James Wiseman and Rollins to the Lakers for AD. Too crazy. AD's body's already breaking down.
AD.
I mean, I love AD. He's an incredible talent, but his body's breaking down.
Yeah, AD is going to be the big one that everyone's going to be talking.
But the thing is, that's all the Lakers have to trade. Why bail? Don't bail them out. Let them sit in the horrendous moves they've made. They have no flexibility. I don't think they should even get top return for AD, because anybody who knows anything about their situation knows that they don't have any other moves to make. They're sitting there playing chess, and there's no moves left on the board. And so why bail them out by giving them, good young players for a hurt older player who, has a big ego? Don't help them out. Just let them sit, let them figure it out. I want to ask you guys this one, because now, there's people that you can see the risk of trading Wiseman. But you can also see the road to building him up is not like going to be like 2 weeks. It's not like, oh yeah, send him to the G League. Like 2 weeks from now, he'll have it all down. By Christmas, he'll be rolling. By January, he'll be dominant. No. He's really, really raw. Would you guys agree? It's going to take time.
That's the position that takes by far the longest to develop.
It's going to take time. Who else showed us this year that he's going to take time? Lots of it. Trey Lance.
Oh, yeah.
Who would you be more afraid to trade between Wiseman or Trey Lance?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because, I'm not saying the 49ers want to trade Trey Lance. I've heard nothing but great things about Trey Lance since he even got hurt, that he just like wants to be in every team meeting, and he's just totally all football. And that doesn't surprise me, because he's a great kid with a great makeup whose dad played professionally, and he gets it. And when I said, oh man, he loves the process, that includes even when you get hurt. He loves the process. So he's going to work his way back. He's going to continue to get better. Trey's going to get it. It's just, I don't know if it's going to be this year. Heck, I don't know if it's going to be next year. I don't know when it's going to be. But eventually, playing quarterback is hard. But if you're totally committed to the process of improving, you're going to get it. You're going to get there. You know what I mean? It's not, I'm not saying it's not really, really hard. But if he's committed to the process and he's got the requisite ability, and I believe that he does, I think he's going to get there, but it may take 3 years.
I think
the same thing about Wiseman. He's going to get there too, but it may take 3 years.
I'm more afraid to trade.
Who are you more afraid to trade?
Well, in a way, it's a tough one, but Lance, because you traded so much.
Kind of not apples to apples is the problem.
A lot of capital was.
It's a center in basketball. It's a quarterback in football. You could argue the biggest. Yeah. I mean, now the point guard has kind of replaced the center as the premier position in the sport, but I hear you. But is that what you meant?
Yeah, kind of like it's like, they already have their Curry and all these other, like, I guess it's like they won the championship without him. But I guess, this would be a really good question if if the Niners win the Super Bowl this year, and then it's like, oh God, it's just.
Well, I mean, just think of it this way: if tomorrow on we're doing this live stream and it comes across the Niners have traded Trey Lance and the Warriors have traded James Wiseman, which one are you more worried about coming back to bite him?
Oh, I'm much more worried about James Wiseman coming back to bite me.
Than Trey, really? So you're not quite as high on Trey.
It's interesting. I just think that there's so much malpractice when it comes to developing quarterbacks in the league, and the coaching and the turnover and the crappy organizations, that I would be worried. Like, if Trey Lance went to the Patriots, okay, now we're talking something different, or the Chiefs. But it's like, if I'm just thinking, random out of the hat 24 teams. Or 24 or so teams that could get him, I would think, like, imagine if Trey Lance was on the Texans or the Panther. Like, I feel like he would not get the adequate coaching. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Versus Wiseman, I feel like could kind of figure it out just by, if he was in OKC and it was crappy, like he would get so much playing time that.
I think I'd be more worried about trading Trey Lance, because I think Trey Lance really does have this unique skill set of physical gifts, and this, like, he really badly wants it. I think Trey Lance, it means everything to Trey Lance to be a very good NFL quarterback. So I know it's going to take time, but I think he's going to get there. I don't know about James. He seems so talented and so skilled and so many options in his world. He speaks Mandarin. He's incredibly intelligent. He's well-spoken. It's like, I don't know, is he play basketball because he's tall, or does he play basketball because he loves it? I don't know. I don't know enough. It's not that I'm at all doubtful of him, because I'm not. I just don't know him. I don't know his background as far as how he's wired, how important basketball is to him. For all we know, he plays basketball because, somebody told him to, or he plays basketball because he, seemed like he was kind of interested. We don't know that he's like got this. Does he have a burning desire to be the next Hakeem Olajuwon? I don't know. But I do get the sense that Trey Lance has a burning desire to be a great NFL quarterback. So I guess I would say I'd be more worried about trading Trey and what he eventually could become than Wiseman. But then when I saw the Wiseman highlights in the summer league, I thought, wow, look at this guy. If this guy can carry this summer league into the season, man, Golden State is really going to have something. But he hasn't. Yeah. He really hasn't. And he looks really far away from being like what they want him to be. Matt Wright says, here's $1.99. Sit Trey Lance for one more year and sign handsome Tom Brady.
I'm done with. I don't think I even want Brady anymore.
He just came back this weekend and a nice little come from behind win.
I know. I'm just kind of over him. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't want to be his like sloppy ninths. It's just.
Some people feel that way. I mean, I feel that way about LeBron.
Yeah.
People. Oh, LeBron wants to come to the Warriors. No.
Like if Rodgers wanted to come here, I would be more down with it, just because it's like, all right, Rodgers, first tell us that you need us. First tell us that you need the Niners, and then we'll let you come. Brady, he can be like, oh, I've won everywhere I'm at. This is why I didn't want to say the apples to apples stuff, because this guy's like, oh, we should trade the guy, and the Niner logo in the background is takes are hot garbage. That's I just meant like
Ryan is Team Giselle.
In terms of
Team Giselle,
I don't really know who I'm team. I guess I'm team. Just I don't really care anymore about Brady.
Check your line, Ryan. I think you said.
Okay, but yeah, it's kind of a tough comparison, because it's like
I said it went into voicemail. You're probably on DND.
Call me again.
MF is begging us to talk baseball. His last couple comments. Stewie Fairchild is a must sign. Where was the other? I saw another MF in here that he He says,
Wait, can you guys hear
let's
that
talk
ringing?
Farhan.
Yeah.
Let's talk Farhan and Padlo.
Yeah. Hey, I got on.
Hey, Steve. Wait, let me know if you can hear the fellas.
Steve, can you hear us?
I can.
Oh, sweet.
Okay. Hey,
That worked pretty well.
So, Steve, what did you think of the game? Warriors, I mean, I was saying, hey, in a way, way to go, Warriors. They snapped the losing streak, and, Steph was phenomenal and this and that. But in a way, it was kind of a sad night when you think of, look what they needed to do to beat the Sacramento Kings on their home floor. That doesn't bode well. And Steve had to totally play all of his veteran guys like close to 40 minutes each just to get a win at home over the Kings. Is that an ominous sign?
Well, I think it's way early, and I really think they need time to develop and blend these players. I was talking to my brother today, and it's evident that they miss Gary Payton. And really, in some respects, also Otto Porter, he rebounded, made shots, fit in really well. So, you really, Larry, you really like Moody, and for good reason. I think they got to give him time to blend in. I do think Wiseman will develop. He's just really skilled, but he's very young. I mean, the whole deal at Memphis, he played one game, then the NCAA suspended him, and then the whole thing with COVID and all of the things that have happened to him. Remember, he's only 20. And the big guys develop a little bit later, but he's just, he really has a tremendous upside, and I just really think he's young. And a lot of these players that are coming out after 1 year, or even like Kuminga coming out of that Ignite League, they don't have a lot of experience. They don't have a lot of game experience. They don't have the savvy. They dominate so much in AAU, which is really undisciplined basketball. So, I mean, I'm not hitting any panic buttons with the Warriors. Green still plays hard. He still has, he's very driven. And even, Clay may be somewhat, limited to how many minutes he can play. He's still a veteran player who knows how to play. So I'm not in any way like hitting the panic button. I think what they're going to probably do is bring those players along, win enough games to get into the playoffs, hopefully in the top four, but maybe not, and then make their run in the playoffs. That's what I think.
Well, and I don't. To me, it doesn't matter what seed they get. To me, it's all about, this team's proven they. I mean, would you want to be a top four seed? Sure. Would you want to be the number one seed? Hell yeah. But more importantly, they gotta bring everybody along. They gotta develop that. They're still very much a developmental team. They gotta develop their roster. They gotta be peaking in April. And that's all that matters. The rest of this is just like, hey, do you want to be the one seed? Yeah. But what, if you're the 5 seed, do you have no chance? No, you still have a tremendous chance. So I'm really not worried at all about the seeding. The NBA regular season, I think, is almost like a gigantic preseason, especially when you've won the title and you've played into deep into June. Suddenly November ball doesn't mean a whole lot. Heck, I mean, we saw Shaq during their title run where they won 3 in a row, where it was like, Shaq had toe surgery like a month before the season and was out half the year. And he did it intentionally to skip the regular season because he knew how meaningless it was. So,
yeah. What do you think, Steve, though, regarding these, all these young guys? Some of them, like you said, very little game experience in college level, one and done, or in Kuminga's case, no college, just G League. But do you think they're lacking a veteran? I mean, they have DiVincenzo and JaMychal Green, or they're 2 big veterans that they signed in the offseason to replace Porter and Payton. But do you think they need another veteran to come off the bench? Because I mean, the development can only go so long. You can only handle losing so many games because of these young guys.
Well, there's no doubt that they could benefit from another veteran, but at what cost?
Who would you trade if you were going to trade any of these young guys?
Well, I wouldn't trade Poole. Weissman probably will draw the most. You could, and in some respects, let's look back at I know it sounds reaching back into baseball, but when the Giants traded Zach Wheeler, I'm watching him in the World Series, and who did they get? Carlos Beltran for half a season, right?
Exactly.
And they gambled, and it didn't work. Okay. Now you look at Zach Wheeler and the Giants. Who knows? He's a heck of a pitcher. Do you trade a guy like Weissman for a veteran player that maybe some team would give up a veteran for him, and maybe the veteran could help the Warriors get there? That'll be a calculated risk that they're Myers and Kerr will decide on, because there is a window that's going to close on Curry, and it's going to close on Green, and it's going to close on Thompson. So if they feel like that window is going to slip away, they might be willing to give up Weissman. He probably will draw the most. Remember, I think Poole has signed such a big contract that it may be a lot more complicated to trade Poole.
Right. They're not going to be able to trade Poole. And they just locked themselves to Poole just recently. It is interesting.
They may be able to get more. They may be able to get the most for Kuminga just because of his he's shown just an ability to be on the court. Although I do agree with you about like Wiseman overall with the upside and everything. He honestly he might be the one. If I was forced to trade one of the three, he might be the one.
Wiseman?
No, Kuminga. Like almost like he deserves to be let free to just go. He should be on the Rockets right now, just taking a bunch of horrible shots and doing really athletic, cool stuff. He doesn't really strike me as like, I don't know, Draymond. There was all those reports in the summer about him not necessarily working the hardest, and
Kerr kind of poured cold water on that. I don't know if he was just protecting him or
but his actions said otherwise. He started the year off.
The thing about Kuminga that I see is that, I'd like to see them simplify the game for him. And when I say that, I mean, like, stop asking him to be a 6-year vet at 19. Let's just accept him for what he is, which is an unbelievable athlete, an unbelievable quick jumper, maybe as good an athlete as there is in the league. I mean, he's an elite athlete. So just put him out there, let him run the floor, and, tell him don't shoot from the outside and grab every rebound. Defend like a madman and grab every rebound. That's it. That's
maybe
all.
They should, like you said, Larry,
don't simplify. I mean, Coach, don't you think you've had players where you said, hey, look, I'm going to simplify the game. They do one thing awesome or two things incredibly well. And instead of trying to be, don't get involved in all this, pick and roll game and the timing and this and that. Just run the floor and rebound your butt off. And, we'll take it from there. Well, to me, that's because if all he did was get to loose balls and rebounds, and he did it with all of his, that was his singular focus and passion. He's so athletic. I don't see anybody really stopping him. I think he could be a tremendous contributor to this team if they just said, grab every rebound and defend like a madman and, play with this crazy urgency.
I don't think he has the talent, athleticism, and the build to play unbelievable defense, but he just doesn't have the instincts yet to play defense well, I feel like.
Yeah, he's really, really young, and there's a lot of aspects to the game, and the whole thing's, I would imagine, somewhat overwhelming. But Coach, have you ever? I mean, not that you've ever coached anybody with that's a physical talent like Kuminga, but you've seen guys whose game was not refined, but man, they had superior quickness. And I'm sure you could probably have them play a role on a basketball team that could be really, really valuable, and still try to get away from the fact that they're underskilled. What do you think?
Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was 6'8", 230, 220. This guy's about the same.
Here's the thing I see with Kuminga. And first of all, I watch him play defense. He's really not aware. I mean, it's like he's standing sometimes in the middle of the freeway with cars going by. He's not. He really doesn't have good anticipation right now. His closeouts are not great. He's not rotating into help side positions. He's just inexperienced. He has you got to look at where he's come from. He's been told, because of his athletic ability, all of these AAU coaches and everybody told him, hey, you're going to be the next whoever. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he has had his mind filled with all these things. And then, boom, he's got to jump into a freeway in the NBA where these guys are pros, they're men, they know how to play. And I don't think they want to give up on him. I think that I've heard that he had some immaturity last year and different things. But what do you expect when you take a 19-year-old guy? I mean, Kobe Bryant, when he came out of high school, had a lot of immaturity to him. Taking terrible shots, thinking he was, everything. I think that, I mean, there's no doubt that Kuminga was a great draft pick. I always thought Weissman was a really good draft pick. I think Moody's a good draft pick. They're all young, with Moody probably being the most mature and having the best coaching, where he was. You guys correct me, he was at Arkansas. And he had excellent coaching with Coach Musselman. I don't know how much Kuminga has had a pro-type coach coaching him through his youth. And obviously, Weissman did not play that year at Memphis. So I think that my feeling is that, and look, let's take a look. Klay Thompson had rough beginnings when he started. He was immature. He took bad shots. Steph, with all of his struggles with his ankles and with his physical strength, and both those guys were 3-year college guys. Steph was a 3-year college guy. Klay was a 3-year college guy. So that maturity between 19, 20, 21, 22, these guys haven't gone through it yet. And I think that their legitimate upside with Poole is their future. They've got a good future. And so they're kind of stuck, in that gap. Now, DiVincenzo, when he comes back, will be a pro. I think they're going to have to rely on JaMychal Green. And I actually think this is a work in progress. They could end up making a decision to try to get a veteran, and they may trade those guys off. But I don't think so.
Well, and Steve, think about last year. Like if they ended up doing what the vets wanted and trading these guys for, let's say, Bradley Beal. Well, Bradley Beal, he hurt his knee, out for the season. It's like, oh, boom. All of a sudden the young guys are gone and we don't have that guy.
It would have added a ton of pressure to the situation to add Beal.
Yeah.
That's right. I really think that this will be maybe Steve Kerr's greatest challenge. Because Steph really looks like he's in his prime, but look, let's not forget. They have a great lineup. Looney's a pro. Wiggins is an all-star. Green is a future Hall of Famer. Klay, who will have his minutes, somewhat limited, but he's in the Hall of Fame. Steph is going to be one of the greatest players. Who's not going to take that starting lineup? And then DiVincenzo will, if he gets healthy, he'll contribute. And then the rookies and Green, and JaMychal Green, I think they're fine. I think that they will work things out. And I also think that there's a certain level of, you come off of a championship program, a championship season. And look, I know Steph Curry is hungry. I know Steph Curry is driven. But there's still that edge, that human nature coming off of the championship. People, really getting after him. I've been surprised at how easily that they have given up points. They've given up a lot of points to start the season.
Well, they're giving up layups left and right. It's
left and right, yeah.
Well, they're giving up dribble penetration at will. That's what they've missed. They have their starters for the most part outside of Wiggins have lateral quickness issues. So you can beat the starting five. You can beat them into the lane, get penetration. Then it becomes this kick, draw and kick game that they have to defend. I don't know. It's a very interesting,
zone
team.
Is, maybe they go to a zone a lot more with Clay out there and just to cover up some of those lateral movement. They
gotta do something because they're right now. It's like they're not quick to loose balls. They're getting beat on the glass. They're terrible in transition defense. A lot of that is just attention to detail. That's the frustrating part, I'm sure, to Kerr. I mean, they're getting beat off made shots on the other end of the floor. So that's just a lack of awareness and understanding the situation and hustling back on defense. It's interesting. I just kind of think the Warriors are, a talented team, but one that didn't start this year with a ton of urgency. And you could hear it from Curry. He's like, hey, we'll figure it out. And I don't think they really care about this slow start. I think they kind of anticipated it. And I think they realize it's going to take 20, 25 games. I agree with you, Steve. There's a lot of talent here, and they'll probably, get it together. But it is kind of a weird situation because think about it. I mean, can you think of this two timelines approach where you've got like one team of guys that are all veterans and then one team of babies, virtual babies, 19 and 20-year-olds, 6 guys on a roster under 20? That's really, really young. Kerr brought it up this week. It's, many of the things they're doing now are things that college coaches do, to try to develop their, freshmen and sophomores. Now those guys are in the NBA because the best players in the draft every year are the college freshmen. So, that's him saying, hey, these guys need development. But I mean, let's just go back in history. Can you think in NBA history of a team that won a title with 2 distinctly different timelines with their players?
The 2022 Warriors.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking maybe Magic and Kareem, in 80, where you had Abdul-Jabbar, who was long in the tooth, and you had, young Magic Johnson. But even that version of Magic Johnson was like a 5-year vet compared to Kuminga and Wiseman. I mean, he was incredibly refined compared to where these guys are at.
Got a question
no doubt
here.
About it. Well, here's I still will come back to the same point. And we talked about this last year when you guys asked me who was the one person that you felt they had to sign. And I felt it was Gary Payton. And I think that, it's obviously, I think he's been hurt, right, with Portland.
Yeah, he hasn't even played yet.
Yeah. So that's been, that's always a factor, but he was the X factor for them down the stretch last year. And even look at in the playoffs when he was hurt for that time period, when he got hurt against Memphis, they struggled without him a little bit. And then when he came back, what a difference he made.
Yeah.
He did all the intangibles. And of course, you take a look at how long it took him to get to the NBA. And, because he was a point guard that couldn't shoot, and then he developed his shot, but he really became kind of a 2-3 undersized 3. And he was so explosive around the rim, even rebounding defensively, offensively. So they miss him. But I think that with the situation they have, I just think it's going to take time to develop, and that coaching staff's going to have to really do a good job with those young guys. Just like you said, Larry, doing a lot of the teaching of, just on defense, seeing your ball at the ball and your man simultaneously. When shots go up, find your man, side check, make contact, hold them off. I look at Kuminga, he'll just walk in, he'll stand around. Even Weissman, his footwork, or really his basic fundamentals of, knowing where his man is, knowing where the ball is. A lot of times he even helps out way above the level of his man, which means he goes running up to help out, and they make bounce passes right behind him. He doesn't yet have a feel. And I see Ron Adams is still on the staff, and it'll take time, but Ron Adams will coach them up.
Also, Mike Brown was a defensive kind of coach, and he's gone now, so that's a loss.
Yeah, look at it. Ron Adams. Okay, I mean, I think Mike Brown's a good coach, all that stuff, but let's never forget Ron Adams has been with them the whole time.
Yeah, no, and he's on a different level as a defensive coach. He's the guy.
Ron Adams was the architect behind Boyd Grant's Fresno State teams in the 80s. He replaced
Rod Higgins
as head coach with Higgins and those guys. Yeah, but I mean, he was
Anderson.
The coach was Boyd Grant. Anderson. And what I'm saying is, and then when he went into the NBA with the Bulls and a lot of the teams that he's been with, he's always been the architect of great defense. And he's a great teacher of the game of basketball. And he's still on the staff. He doesn't travel, I don't think, on the road, or I'm not sure, but I've seen. Well, I do know that when I saw the video of Green punching Poole, Adams was standing right there, and then
he's there.
He was there, and I saw him put his hands on his hip, like.
Seen this before, and I'm out of here. Yeah. Let me move out of the way here. Jaguayo 56 donates $5. He says, Krug, one question for Coach. In 3 to 5 years, when Curry, Clay, and Green are near the end, will Kerr still run the same type of offense, or will it change for the young talent? And then we've got this one who says, the young kids don't have much basketball IQ. Kerr's system is too complicated for college sophomores. Steve, you coach basketball and you coached, young people, and the difference between, different age groups and what systems are easy to teach and what systems are difficult to teach. The Warriors rely on a lot of body movement and a lot of ball movement. And that is a departure from what so many kids are brought up with, these days, that I think that maybe that plays into some of the struggles in adapting to Kerr's system. What do you think? I mean, do you feel that Kerr's system, where he emphasizes ball and body movement, is a little bit more complicated than your average offense for these these guys are teenagers for the most part?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, the whole system is built around Steph, and because they're denying Steph everywhere, they've got built-in pressure releases all over the place, where they'll flash a guy and backdoor a guy, and then a lot of the fake screens, some of the fake handoffs with Green, where he'll turn and go, and a lot of that is predicated because that they're constantly worried about where Curry is, and for the same thing. With Green and with Poole, they stretch the defense because when they're on the perimeter, you can't leave them alone. So I think that the offense that Kerr has right now is built because of the players he has that are so special. By
the way, I need to say this because so many people in the chat are referencing this. Ken Viali says, "Who's coach?" You guys never told the viewers who the caller is. The coach we're talking to is Dan's neighbor who lives in the 55 and over community. And Dan is Steve Coach Emilio is Dan's brother. And Steve, you coached DVC for how long?
I was at Diablo Valley College for 30 years.
30 years at DVC.
Right. Before that, when I was young, I was lucky enough to get hired at De La Salle from 81 to 86. And I coached two of Rick Barry's boys, Scooter, who went on to, the national championship with Danny Manning, and then played about 18 years in Germany. And then, of course, John Barry. John was, played on like 12 different NBA teams after he was he was at Georgia Tech with Kenny Anderson.
I remember you, Steve. I think I can remember De La Salle coming to the Sand Dune Classic at St. Ignatius during the Thanksgiving holiday one year with one of the Berry brothers. I don't know if you knew Bob. You probably knew Bob Drucker, right?
Oh, I know all those guys in the city from Jerry
Isola,
Ron Isola, one of the days of with Eric Newman and Monk, and then of course I went head to head with Mike Phelps at O'Dowd.
Steve Phelps was at SI.
Yep, absolutely. But I was fortunate enough to when I at 29 I went to St. Mary's and joined Lynn Nance's staff, and I don't know if you remember the teams that we had, or Coach Nance had at St. Mary's, but that was the year. Those were the years when, Bo Kimball and Hank Gathers were at Loyola Marymount.
Oh, I remember that team. I actually went to see Loyola Marymount play the Australian national team in like the late 80s, 87, 88, down at on campus at LMU. And the final score of the game, Steve, I think it was like 188, 172. And my dad and I are watching this. My dad's like, "Hey, man, that was fun." I'm like, "Fun, Dad? That might have been the highest scoring game in the history of basketball." I mean, they had that kid Fryer and Kimball and Gathers, and it was like they took the ball off the rim, and they just made
3 dribbles and shot it.
Yeah, they made like D'Antoni's Suns teams look like a half court offense. I mean, they just run and gun and run and gun. I mean, that was wildly entertaining to watch, that style. I don't know how much you ever talked to Westhead, but man, his teams were so much fun to watch.
Well, and there was a lot more to it with their press too, and there were times where they'd get caught triple teaming the ball. They didn't really care whether you scored; they wanted to get into a feeding frenzy of going up and down, and then they figured that eventually
they'd lure you into it.
Yeah, but we were successful against them. We during those years in the 88-89 season, we won the WCAC back then. I was a WCAC back then, not the WCC.
Who was your star?
And, Al Lewis out of St. Liz and actually went to DVC. We had Eric Newman, who had gone to Southern Idaho.
Eric Newman. Yeah, okay. Eric Newman was a great player, like 6'3".
Yeah, well, about 6'4", but he was a really athletic player, kind of played a 3-4. We had our center was Dan Curry, transferred from San Jose State. Our point guard was David Carter, who played at Crenshaw and 2 state championships with Willie West. And then, of course, David Carter became the head coach at the University of Nevada when he was an assistant when Mark Fox left and went to Georgia. We had, Kerry Burns out of Berkeley High, James Daly out of Fremont were both JC transfers. We had a lot of junior college transfers that came in the second year. But anyhow, we went to the NCAA tournament, and we played Clemson when they had Dale Davis and
Eldon Campbell, right? Dale Davis and Eldon Campbell.
Yeah, in fact, it was an amazing first half. Al Lewis had 24 points in the first half. We were playing up at Boise, the arena up at Boise State. We were playing against those guys, and we got beat. But and then Coach Nance went to Washington in 1989, and then I became the head coach at DVC, and I was there for 30 years. Nice. And so, I have a lot of connections in the game, and it's been my whole life. And I'm retired now, but I obviously am still in love with basketball. Larry, we had a great time talking. What'd you think of Flight Lines?
I know, wasn't that unbelievable? I mean, Danny, we busted out the 73 Belmont and watched Secretariat Rumble. And I even quoted the track announcer, "Secretariat's moving like a fantastic machine." It was just incredible. But yeah, I mean, that was something else. And then the horse was put out to stud, huh? So the horse will never race again.
Right.
Well, Flightline?
Flightline. Yeah.
Really?
Flightline. They retired him the next day. There's just too much money now. And to and obviously, you know, and I'm kind of exposing that I really like horse racing, but I would say that the industry has done a really good job with the bloodlines, because, you know, not just with Curlin and all of these horses and Gun Runner and all of these great studs that are, you know, these horses now are being retired earlier.
Well, not only that, aren't a lot of the Japanese investors buying them and taking them to Japan, and they're never racing them again, but they're breeding them over there. Isn't Sunday Silence in Japan? I believe Sunday Silence is housed in Japan.
I'm kind of like Flightline here at El Boca Vista.
Yeah, Danny's been put out to stud at La Boca Vista. He says, come on over, have some completes, and pay me my stud fee. And, you know, what the heck?
They're saying that Flightline, you know, in the next couple of years could, you know, generate, you know, $40 million for the ownerships. And I mean, and these horses, obviously, you know, you were like, some people might say, well, why doesn't he just run and wait until January and
what if he breaks down
and run in that Pegasus race, you know, which is like a 3.6 million, but that's nothing compared to what he can make, and they just don't want to risk it, and there's no need to. It really isn't. But anyhow,
Steve, did you hear actually the latest rumor? Now that you know the thing came out about the stud, you know he's going to make like 40 million, but the latest rumor is that Flightline might join the Live Tour.
Well, I could tell you, but you know, one of the greatest, Larry, I don't know if you were watching it, but the greatest, because I really like John Sadler as a trainer in Southern California,
right?
And, you know, and they were asking, they were showing him, you know, as he was watching the race, you know, because NBC does it, and it's funny. He's got his notepad sitting there. And when he crosses the finish line, Sadler just flips a notepad casually up in the air like, oh, well, that's over. I mean, what an opportunity to train that horse. Yeah.
But you wait your whole life. You wait your whole life to have that kind of a horse.
I think we should get a horse, the three of us, and name it El Boca Vista or something.
The Krueg Show?
Yeah, the Krueg Show. The Krueg Show.
And on the outside, the Krueg Show closing fast.
Could you imagine out there? Just get one at Golden Gate Fields. We could probably get one for pretty cheap.
Anyhow, hey Larry,
on a claimer.
Okay. When Larry, I wanted to ask you a question because I know I consider you an expert in football. I want your opinion about everything that happened to Kaepernick. I really, you know, because the whole thing. I mean, did the NFL, you know, squeeze him out? The whole deal. Because I like Kaepernick, you know, and obviously, you know, it was he got himself in a somewhat of a political firestorm, which I thought was completely overrated. You know, it was just overblown. But I mean, was he a high-level quarterback that was, you know, squeezed out?
Well, you know, he had high-level skills as far as foot speed, arm strength, but as far as development, you know, he really didn't develop. You know, he played in right when they were transitioning the game plans the playbooks from books to iPads. So they actually knew how often he was looking at the game plan. And you just can't be a part-time quarterback and a part-time activist. You got to be a full-time quarterback. That's how hard it is to play quarterback. And to me, right, the real the football moment where his career totally changed was when they took on the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona, his final year as the starter, and he had 2 pick sixes in the first half. And really what was going on was Arizona's, I think it was Todd Bowles maybe at the time, knew what he was looking at with Kaepernick, and he knew that Kaepernick really was not throwing with any anticipation. He was waiting. He had a laser for an arm, but he was waiting for a player to pop open, and then once he was open, then he was throwing it. And so he basically just had his defensive backs drop into kind of a soft zone, and keep their eyes peeled on Kaepernick. And just break, when Kaepernick would make the fundamental mistake of pumping to the same side that he would go to, and he did it repeatedly. And they would just break on his ball, and they did twice in that game. And I think that he was just so broken by that. And he just never really got refined as a passer. They had proof that he wasn't spending the kind of time that they wanted him to spend, or that most quarterbacks spend on the game plan. But I think ultimately the other thing that happened is when, Kaepernick became a social advocate, and he kind of put pressure through some of the things he was saying publicly on Jed to support him, and Jed supported him to the tune of $1 million. Well, the day that donation, or the day that announcement happened, I had 4 different friends in the NFL who all contacted me and said that, that's the end. Like the fact that, that from the NFL, from the NFL perspective, a lot of the internal discussion was he leveraged Jed into donating that money, that Jed had he had no choice but to donate, and that there would be some pushback from that. And that would not be viewed favorably. And so I think ultimately, you have, quarterback, it's not like defensive back or wide receiver or offensive tackle or any of these other positions. The expectation on how much time you're going to spend working at it is really, really high. There's like coaches, there's the quarterback, and then there's players. So like the quarterback's expected to really work crazy hours, not quite like the coaches, but a lot more than the other players. And, there's no, the part-time quarterback, part-time activist. I think that's how he was labeled, fairly or unfairly. So I do think that there were NFL people that just said, no, you got $1 million out of Jed, but you're not getting anything out of us. So, and personally, I really believe that he probably signed some kind of not a non-compete, because that's the wrong name of it, but some kind of document that said that he would not try to play again in the NFL. So I think the rest of this is just all, just a song and dance, and all for the cameras and for media. I don't think he ever expected to come back. I don't think he ever wanted to actually come back. There were opportunities when he supposedly had workouts scheduled, and he showed up and wasn't in shape. One time they kept fighting over where he was going to work out. He led everybody to one spot, then he worked out in another spot. And I just think that, they kind of realized that he wanted his heart wasn't all in being a quarterback in the NFL. So and as far as how great he was, his QBR, had gone down 3 years in a row. So, he had some incredible moments, and he was an unbelievable talent, and he did lead the 49ers almost to a Super Bowl championship. But there wasn't progression. There was regression in his game. And so that's, I think, what happened ultimately.
Okay. Thank you.
He did get a. Do you
the
think
Raiders worked him out? There's the Seahawks worked him out. There were a number of teams that worked him out, but do
you think that he signed that thing like before, like way earlier on, or are you saying like the
didn't he get a settlement from the league? He had a settlement from the league. I just really believe that in that settlement he agreed not to play again.
He got a super
That's just my belief.
That he got a super fatty settlement like a year and a half ago or something like that.
I thought it was further back, but either way,
I thought it was about 3 years ago. But yeah, he did.
Yeah, he got it.
I actually was with his lawyer because on the day that the whole thing got signed and whatever, Mark Garagos used to come in Corolla all the time. They had like a show they did on Fridays that I produced, and it was like, the guy lost like some hilarious cases though. Like he lost the Jesse Smollett case and he lost one other one, and they were both on the same day, he found out. And it was while he was there was a news jump on a Friday, and it was like, oh my God, so funny because he's so rich that it's like, whatever.
And then all these people, every single time there's some horrendous athlete quarterback, and look at this guy's in the NFL, where's Kaepernick? That guy's in the NFL, where's Kaepernick? Well, if it was as simple as that, clearly he was he one of the 33 best quarterbacks in football? I don't know. That was the debate. Would he come back as a backup? There's roughly 100 quarterbacks in the NFL or whatever, or at least 66, roughly 2 per team, or 64 or whatever. He definitely was one of the best 64 quarterbacks, multiple years there. But I'll say this too. I can remember being in that Niner locker room, and he's holding court in the middle of the room talking about, different social justice ideas and either issues or complaints that he had. And I can remember a couple offensive linemen just, basically walking across the room in a diagonal, hitting the showers, just irate that this was going on, that he was holding court like this in the room. Now, it played to those who watched it like, here's an offensive lineman who's frustrated with a bunch of media people asking Kaepernick questions about social justice. But they were asking him questions about social justice because he wanted to talk about social justice. So,
well, speaking of Cap,
there were players that had had enough of that whole situation. Whether they some of them may have blamed the media, but some of those players blamed Kaepernick too.
Speaking of Kaepernick, a more current event similar to Cap. What's your thoughts, Steve, on Kyrie with all that stuff going on?
Ooh, not sure you want to necessarily have those two in the same sentence of comparison.
Well, I mean, we're talking about different, off the court stuff versus,
Dan, Mark Garagos is going to sue you for mentioning Kyrie Irving in the same sentence.
I'm just curious what his thoughts were on Kyrie.
The best impression I've had of Kyrie Irving was when he played the old guy in the movie. That was his best.
I know. What the hell?
I had to turn that movie off. It was so bad. Are you talking about Uncle Drew or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but the commercials were awesome. Like, it was like, damn, this guy's got a lot of charisma. He's a young kid and he's all in all this makeup and like doing these skits. It was pretty cool.
I know, but look, he definitely doesn't seem to represent the 1 year he spent at Duke University. I would not put him in the category of Dukies that are Krzyzewski would probably say or followed his teachings. But let's be real.
I got to actually push back. I feel like you could probably find like 4 to 6 guys kind of like Kyrie at like the Duke philosophy department that are about freshmen.
Yeah.
They didn't play basketball for Krzyzewski. No. Okay, so here's the thing. He wins an NBA championship that year. They come back from 3 down, right? And in the off season, he's being disrespectful. Like he doesn't like LeBron. He doesn't want to play with LeBron. The whole deal, and they forces the trade out of there. Then he goes to Boston, and he's nothing but a pain in the butt there with Austin, with Brad Stevens. They were glad to see him go. And the biggest mistake that fine, he goes to the Nets, okay. But how do you think Kevin Durant is feeling now about, tying his ship to that dock with Kyrie Irving?
Nobody forced KD to do it.
I know, but I mean, look at
one of the worst decisions of all time.
I agree.
Steve, was this the first time that really hit home for me when you just said that? Because when I saw KD talking about this, it was like, everyone wants to have that debate. Like, oh, could you imagine KD, how much he wishes that he he's with Steph Curry still. I think for the almost this entire time, he still is like kind of happy that he's doing his own thing in Brooklyn, unfortunate things, but he wanted to be out of there. This is the first time where I'm with you. I think that he looked like in his eyes and like when he was talking, like, okay, now it's like, dude, Kyrie, like now it's like this, we're going to have to either blow this up or like I need to get traded back to Golden State or get out of here somehow. Because he seems shocked.
And I don't know how he does. I mean, Harden last year was like, I'm not playing with this guy anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying James Harden is the bastion of all around team play, but he has had a great career and he's been competitive. And when Durant and Westbrook and Harden were together, I mean, they played really hard. They played together at Oklahoma. And I just think that there's no doubt that Kyrie is a great one-on-one player. He's got great instincts of the game. But basketball is a team game. And it's not just a team game in terms of dribbling, passing, shooting, defending, rotating. It's also like most team sports, but especially in a emotional and, I don't want to use the word spiritual, but, there's a spirit of a team of unselfishness. And basketball is successful because guys put the team first. It's truly a game that needs the team to be first. And that's one of the hardest things about coaching basketball, because human nature is selfish and innately unselfish. And kids get caught up with what about me, or you treat this other player better than me, or whatever. And then throw in high school coaching and throw in parents. And parents, they don't care about the team at all. As long as their kid's playing, they don't care if the team, I'm sorry you lost. But get a kid that gets pulled out of the lineup from a losing streak and the team starts winning and they feel like their kid has gotten screwed. They don't care about the team winning. Very rarely do you see parents that fully understand the concept of the team. And so the game is hard to coach. And especially when you have players like Kyrie Irving that are constantly disrupting the unity of a team. I think he's a detriment.
He's a major talent. It's funny. He keeps that ball on a string and he's just got unbelievable ability, but you're right. It's a team game and it's all about working for the high. You're playing the odds at all times. You're working for the highest percentage shots, the best looks. And, it's a little different in the NBA because you've got guys who are paid, it's about sometimes the financial structure of a team and who gets the ball, who fires up the shots. I mean, we saw it the other night in that situation at the end of the game where on the side of the floor, it was Steph and he got trapped and then he threw it over to Clay. Now, Clay was between two defenders and was kind of awkwardly facing the baseline, had the ball in his right hand. And he probably, if it's just about basketball and pure basketball, should have flipped it to Ty Jerome, who had his shoulders squared, and Ty Jerome should have hoisted that shot. But no, it's the NBA. And Ty Jerome's a nobody, and Klay Thompson's a somebody. And so somebody takes the shot at the end of the game over a nobody, regardless of if the nobody has the better look. And so that's just kind of different. It's different than it is in other, there's a pecking order to the whole thing. So,
except when Michael Jordan passed the ball to Steve Kerr in that jump shot. And then, of course, he also passed it to Jim Paxson.
There you go.
So, I mean, those two, but listen, the last thing I'll say about, and since we were talking about the Warriors and I kind of came on to talk about the Warriors, I just think this is going to be a challenging year for Kerr and his staff. But, that assistant is an excellent assistant. Is it the one that was the coach at Brooklyn? Is it Atkinson?
Kenny Atkinson. Yeah, they say he's the NBA GM survey said he's the number one top assistant in the league.
Those two guys, him and Kerr, will figure this out. And I think the Warriors will, if they stay healthy, they're going to be fine. I don't think they really, I don't think they want to be in 7th or 8th in a play-in situation, the way the playoffs are set up now with this new system. But, as long as they can get in to the top 6 spots, and that they can rest, because there's more rest during the playoffs. They have more time to focus and scout and rest. I think they're a tough out in the playoffs in the West, no matter what, if they can be healthy. So I'm not really overly concerned. I think they'll bring their young players along, and they'll get better.
It's, the one thing that the NBA has that it just affords you. You can look at it one way. Yeah. Is it a grind? Yeah, it's a grind. Is the season eternal? Yeah, it's eternal. But in a situation like this, where you're nowhere close to being the kind of team and playing the kind of ball that you're going to need to play to defend your title, it's awfully reassuring to say the truth, which is they got 2 full months. Minimum 2 full months to put it together. They probably really have 3 or 4 months, but you figure by January 1st, they're going to they'll have this thing dialed in. They'll have the rotations down. If they need to make an acquisition to round out their roster, they will. If they need to move a player off the roster because it doesn't fit, they'll move them. They've got the way I look at it, 2 months to just dabble with this, dabble with that, try different rotations, try different things, see what works, see what doesn't. They got a lot of time. They got nothing but time. So I agree with you. I think it will come together. I think people just need to relax. But that's how much people are focused on this product now because they've gone to the finals with the defending champions. When you go to the finals and you're defending champions, you pick up fans along the way, and those fans, some of them are really, really veteran NBA fans, but a lot of them are kind of relatively new fans. And it all looks like the sky's falling, but there is no such thing as November sky falling in the NBA, or December, or January for that matter. If you get to the trade deadline, you get to March.
When's the All-Star break? Is that February?
Yeah, it's the trade deadline's in February. I think the All-Star break's right there. As long as they're feeling good by to me, January 1st, but I'd even push it out February 1st. Preferably, I'd like to see them getting going by January 1st. But as long as they got it rolling by February, mid-February, plenty of time to gel and be hitting your stride come playoff time. Steve, we'll let you jump. We appreciate you.
I've got one last one,
go ahead.
Steve. Also, I was going to say Boston at All-Star break last year was 500. So everyone has time. Yep. Yeah, that's good. But Steve, I was going to say, okay, 2 things. One, I actually tweeted earlier today. Have you heard about, I'm sure you're still locked in with St. Mary's, but have you heard about the kid they got from Camp Alindo?
Oh, well, yeah, he's outstanding. I watched him last year because this year I'm kind of helping out the last 2 years at De La Salle, with the new Marcus Schroeder. I really work with a JV coach, and I'm having a great time doing that but I watched Camp Alindo play a number of times last year. He's an outstanding player, and he was natural. He grew up playing with Randy's sons.
And everyone that grows up in that area, Moraga, Lafayette, that plays basketball, everyone goes and sneaks into St. Mary's and freaking plays pickup games all the time. So it's like St. Mary's is almost like part of the
community there.
Bloodline. Yeah. Blood
they play at Madigan. They don't get into the pavilion, but they play it.
I used to get into the pavilion back in the day.
There you go. Well, you could play. But listen, your question about him is he's legit. Coach Bennett would not sign somebody just as a favor. They like him. He's a legitimate Division I player, and he's a great shooter.
I was going to say, so I tweeted today. I put a little bold prediction out there. Part of it's because he went to Campo, but it's like I was following them because we're freaking just a bunch of D3, just a bunch of white guys, and like nobody's like some 5-star recruit at all. Like our tallest guy is probably 6'5" or 6'6" or maybe 6'7", and they lost by they were a Gordon Hayward like half court 3 by Mahaney away from winning the Open Division championship for California men's basketball, or boys basketball, like literally the highest. Like they were playing, they finished the same as Sierra Canyon did, or finished better than Sierra Canyon. And it's like all these guys are like going to the NBA. And it's like he's the one guy going to play major Division I. And I tweeted out that I thought that he is going to end up being their most accomplished player, not in terms of NBA stuff, but their most accomplished player since Patty Mills, more so than even Dellavedova. I thought he's going to be that good. And I thought that he was going to lead St. Mary's to a Sweet 16 and honestly like win like WCC Player of the Year and stuff. Tonight, he came off the bench, 25 points, 5 threes in his first game.
Steve, have you seen Marshall Onis's kid? Have you seen Marshall Onis's kid?
I have seen him. Yeah, he plays a lot like his dad. And, last year, I watched him play last year, and he played sparingly off the bench because they had veteran, players at the guard position. And Randy doesn't really sub a lot with his guards. When he gets a solid lineup, they play a lot of minutes. But Marshall Onis, his son, has a great upside, and he plays tough. He's like he's almost like a replica of his father. But no, the young man you're talking about from Camp Lindo, I watched them play De La Salle in the North Coast section game when it was played at Camp Lindo last March. And De La Salle was ahead most of the game. And then he stepped up and, took over the game late in the game. So he's a legitimate player. There's no doubt about it.
So who's going to win the national championship?
I will tell you, though, Dellavedova, and I know a lot about St. Mary's basketball because one of my assignments when I was an assistant coach there, I was a grad assistant, and Coach Nance wanted to bring history. And so I was up in the attic of the library going through, dust and cobwebs and looking it up. And I went back through the whole history of St. Mary's basketball, and even before Thomas Sherry and Leroy Dobbs and a lot of great players. And, Bill Oates had a lot of good players there too in the early 80s with Tebow and Pickett and those guys. But I really do think that Dellavedova was one of the most competitive players. And in my opinion, I believe he was the best player in the history of St. Mary's basketball, just because of his leadership, what he accomplished, how far he took the team. And then even in his pro career, he survived and did well in the NBA with a lot less athletic talent and quickness, and with his anticipation, his toughness, his grittiness, and his floor vision and his ability to defend. Dellavedova, in my opinion, to this day is the number one player coming out of St. Mary's.
Over Patty Mills?
Yeah, over Patty Mills. Yeah,
Steve.
When he was at St. Mary's.
Oh,
right.
St. Mary's.
Steve, okay. I don't know how much you watched of SI. Did you ever see Paul Fortier and Tilgen and Dave Wilson and Levy Middlebrooks and those guys?
Absolutely, yeah. The best basketball over the years. Now, obviously, to me, the OAL has always had the great players. I mean, you go back to Bill Russell, and then you're looking at Gary Payton, Greg Foster, so many great players.
How about the kid? How about the guy who played?
Kid in the OAL?
He played for St. Joe's, right? Kid.
Who's that? Jason
Kidd.
Kid.
Of course. But I was going to say that to me, the best basketball historically in the Bay Area was the old Catholic Athletic League, which had the 8 schools in the East Bay, and the Western Catholic Athletic League. When you look at the San Francisco basketball, with St. Ignatius and with Sacred Heart, with Jerry Phillips all those years, and then Ron Isola, and then, you go down Bellarmine, Sarah, Mitty, tremendous basketball league still to this day. My last year at De La Salle, the 85-86 season, we won the Catholic Athletic League. O'Dowd and Mike Phelps had won the league like 8 years in a row. And so when we won that, it was a great accomplishment, just kind of turning the program around at De La Salle. But that league had, Moreau, and it had St. Elizabeth, it had St. Joseph, Frank Laporte, it had O'Dowd, it had St. Mary's of Berkeley.
Do you remember Tony Jackson played at O'Dowd? He was great.
Absolutely. I played, that was when I was coaching at De La Salle. I was only 25 years old and going against, Tony Jackson and Mark McCaffrey and Brian Shaw. Tony Bonzoni was on that team. It was a great team. They lost to Crenshaw in overtime down in the L.A. against John Hopkins.
Oh, my God. How great was John Williams?
That's right.
He was great. John Williams ate himself out of the NBA, but John Williams was as good a talent in high school as, man, I mean, I put him up against almost, I mean, not LeBron or anything, but he was an incredibly, I mean, he didn't have the physical dominance of LeBron at where he played in Akron, but he had more skill, much more skill.
Speaking of eating, Anonymous said, Steve, Coach, do you eat all the time and after midnight?
Danny eats on the show.
I have. I've watched the show. I check in every once in a while.
Danny's always eating
late night snacks. Yeah.
Hey, Steve, do you remember that guy Juicy, who was the big man who played for Fremont of maybe Sunnyvale? Big 6'10" guy in the late 80s, early 90s. I think he played in maybe Oregon State. He was unbelievably skilled, but he was limited athletically. But we're talking about 6'11", 6'10", 6'11".
Right. I remember the name. Yeah, I remember the name.
Juicy.
How about a guy that played down there and this was a unique player. He played at Monte Vista High School down there. Ronnie Reese, who played at Santa Clara, and he became a pro wrestler.
Yeah,
really.
I'll tell you the greatest upset. One of the greatest upsets I've ever seen in high school basketball was Bob Drucker's SI Wildcats beat Emmanuel Arts out of L.A. with Dwayne Polee, and that team was just incredible. Like the layup line, I would say most of the guys on Emmanuel Arts could jam. And I mean, if you saw these two teams take layups before the game, you would have thought that Manual Arts would have run the Wildcats off the floor. Instead, SI played this incredibly fundamental game and just beat these guys down. It was unbelievable to watch. And Paul Lee, I think, went on to average like 30 a game for Pepperdine. And he was really, and then there was, I think they maybe also had Chris Sandel one of those years.
Manual Arts was coached by Reggie Morris, who went on to become a great, he was a California junior college basketball coach, went into the Hall of Fame, won a state championship at Southwest LA. But he was at Manual Arts. So it'd be interesting one day. I wouldn't mind coming on and talking about the history of California junior college basketball and all of the great players and coaches.
Well, Dugan real well, Brad Dugan, I'm sure.
Of course.
Dean Garrett and all those guys. I mean, what he built City into was incredible.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I will tell you that currently the most dominant program in the state of California is San Francisco City College men's basketball with Justin LeBlanc, who's won 4 state championships in the last 11 years. And Justin is they're dominating the state. And for the longest time, the Northern California teams, we in 1984, Sac City won when Kenny Drummond played, he was with North Carolina State. And there was, and then Columbia won in 93. But there were very rarely was the Northern California teams winning the state championship. And now San Francisco City College is dominating. Obviously,
well, you know why they dominate? They dominate because they got the greatest facilities. Oh yeah, no, maybe not.
Are they?
I mean, seriously, they're not even their floor is not anywhere as good as Reardon's floor, like a block away. It's.
But Larry, they built a new facility at the city.
Oh, really? I have not seen their new facility.
Wait, so Steve, is it recruiting? Because I remember my year. Speaking of Carl Foster, I remember my year. It was like all the guys I knew that played for the Oakland Soldiers that didn't, either their grades weren't good enough or their offers they got weren't, up to what they wanted. All went to SF City College to play basketball, and it looked sick. It looked like literally just soldiers in.
Okay, well here's the thing. there's I learned a lot from Lynn Nance, who was my mentor at St. Mary's. And he said there were three parts to building a successful college basketball program. Obviously recruiting, obviously teaching, and also scheduling, because you've got to be able, scheduling at the college level is very important. But not only is Justin LeBall a great recruiter, and you could say that he has a great facility, but, San Francisco, kids still got to go there. But Justin's also an excellent coach. And so when you are an excellent coach and you have the talent, they play as a team, he's really got it going. But anyhow, we could talk some other day, but, coaches like Lute Olson, Jerry Tarkanian, Denny Crum, they all coach California junior college basketball. Many guys have gone on. And a lot of Wooden's teams during the late 60s, from Sidney Wicks to Swin Nader to John Ballally to Mark Eaton, a lot of those guys were California junior college transfers from Cypress College and from
Tommy Tolbert.
Tommy Tolbert, yes.
He went from what, Cypress to Arizona?
No, he went to Cerritos.
Cerritos, that's right. Cerritos City College, yeah. Cerritos, then he went over. Then he went to U of A.
No, he went to Irvine. Didn't he go to Irvine and then go to U of A?
I heard the funniest story from Tolbert. Steve was inducted into the California Hall of Fame junior college, and along with Tom Tolbert about 5 years ago, was it, Steve?
About 5 years ago.
17, 18, somewhere around there. And Tolbert gets up and gives his speech, and he's telling us about how he's running. Lute Olson makes him run around,
the fountain story?
Huh?
The story about how he hid in the fountain?
Yeah, you've heard that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's hilarious. That is the most hilarious story I've ever heard, man. The guy, instead of running the full 4 miles, he hides in the fountain, comes back like he's sweating like crazy.
Awesome stuff. Steve, we'll let you go, man. Have a great night.
All right.
We appreciate talking ball with you. We'll do it again.
All right. See you guys.
Steve Coach Emilio. Matt Wright says $9.99. Speaking of quarterbacks, not a Raider fan, but what are your guys' thoughts on Derek Carr? In my opinion, he plays scared and hasn't been the same since he broke the leg and ankle. And would you take him over Jimmy G? I would not take him over Jimmy G. And I just think, Carr has had a lot of non-competitive downs. But I don't think it's all on him. I think the Raiders have a terrible offensive line, no pass rush, and a really bad defense, a terrible culture. I think Derek's okay, but I don't think he's elite by any stretch, or think he's special. But I don't think you can blame everything with the Raiders on Derek Carr. But they just weren't ready to play in the second half, and they got shut out in the second half by Jacksonville.
They were up 20-0.
It was embarrassing.
And, I played the most famous guys I played against. I played against the Van Gundy brothers in CYO.
Alhambra?
No, they were at St. Catherine in Martinez, and I played at St. Agnes in Concord, and it was kind of fun.
Jeff, who's the better, Jeff or Stan?
It's funny because back then
Jeff.
I didn't even know till years later.
I like to imagine them young being the opposite body types. Like one is like all head, and then it morphed. So Stan went from like the skinny bald to like the.
It's hard to picture Stan even playing at all. All right, seriously. I mean, really, you played? All right, we'll be back in just a minute after this. Larry Kruger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab
rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, call and make sure you use telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coach Emilio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Tony Cassera and the good people at Cassera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Cassera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com. Often imitated, never equaled.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York Style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, you know, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never going to deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York Style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
Wink, that lets you know Pasquale in the house, and that also means thanks to the New York Style Italian Sausage people. We love those people.
We got to get some sausage.
Proud sponsors.
I got to get some sausage so I can sample that on the show.
Well, you know what? I'm going down there on the 14th. I don't know if you're going to be down there, but I'm going to stop by on the 14th and maybe load up I mean, I'm thinking about bringing my own 18 wheeler, like refrigerated, and just, hey guys, just could you imagine? Just back it up, just load it up. It's a refrigerated car. I'm taking this back to the creek. We're eating Italian sausage for the next 20 years. You got to have some
Italian sausage. Speaking of some different foods, this is an item at Costco that's seasonal. This is butter pecan meltaways. David's cookies. These are pretty good. I would recommend these.
Look at that tin. You could herd an intruder with that tin.
Check this tin out. This one's huge. This thing's like
Jesus.
This is a seasonal item. This is Walker's Pure Butter Home Baked Shortbread Selection. So
there's a ton of cookies in there.
Yeah. Check this out. Man, this thing is.
Look at that.
Let me take this. Look at
Danny like dominates at Costco. Look at that. Everything's individually wrapped.
These are really good. I mean, but you can only get them this time of year.
Hey, can we see Faith and Buster? Where are they?
Faith and Buster. Buster just came from. There they are.
Yeah. Oh, look at Buster's out. Buster's crushed.
Buster's been out for a couple days. In fact, I just looked for him, and he was out in the back room that I just added on here at El Boca Vista, and we added that on, and he was out there frolicking away just on the couch there. It's the only piece of furniture he's allowed to get on. Otherwise,
we got one more from Jaguar 56. God. He says $2. Any thoughts on the Colts hiring of Jeff Saturday?
Oh my goodness!
I think it's stupid. I'm not saying that Jeff Saturday doesn't have good traits. He does, but Gus Bradley's on that staff. He's been a head coach. If you want to hire a head coach, hire him. What happened to all the minority candidates that were supposed to be interviewed? You let Irsay, Mr. I've got a bunch of pills in a pillowcase in my trunk, make this decision. What happened to the Rooney Rule? What happened to the processes that the league had talked about? Instead, and Frank Reich. I'll say this right now. Frank Reich is one of the dozen best head coaches in the NFL. This is who I think is better than Frank Reich. Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, John Harbaugh, Sean McVay, Pete Carroll. I kind of think Brian Daboll is a hell of a coach, even though I know he's very new in the head coaching world. Doug Peterson's won a Super Bowl. I think Vrabel's really special. Tomlin, Mike McDaniel, and I'll throw Shanahan. After that, that's 11 guys. That means that Frank Reich is the 12th best coach in football. And what happened? What's he had happen there? Andrew Luck retired. Phillip Rivers was too old. Carson Wentz, they decided to go the Carson Wentz, quarterback route. That didn't work. They passed up on a trade for Matthew Stafford. Then they bring in Matt Ryan. Now he's too old. He lost Eberflus, his D coordinator, to the Bears. He lost Nick Sirianni, his OC, to the Eagles over the last couple of years. I really think Chris Ballard and Frank Reich were one of the best GM head coaching tandems in all of football. But you take the wrong quarterback, that's it. You don't win in the NFL with bad quarterbacks, and he's had He's had a different quarterback every year. You need continuity, and guys who can play at the quarterback position. The Colts haven't had it, and unfortunately, Frank Reich is paying for it by losing his job. I think he's a tremendous coach. I think anybody would be really, really, really smart to hire Frank Reich.
Yeah, I think he just lost. I think it's like, I think Irsay understands at this point. He's been around the block. I think he kind of understands that, like, look, Frank Reich is a good coach, but, he's now just struck out massively on 3 straight quarterbacks. And I think that he's kind of lost the team. I think that it's hard. I think that they've kind of lost confidence in him, honestly. Those are such three such big swings. 3 also. I mean, I'm kind of glad he's not coaching though right now, because I just always think of Nazi Germany every time I hear his
Frank Reich. The unlucky one was Wentz.
What was the third quarterback? Surprised. You said he struck out 3 times.
Are you saying the third Reich?
No, well, he had Andrew Luck and he retired. And then he went with Phillip Rivers, and Rivers was too old. Then he went with Wentz, and Wentz sucked and had some of the worst turnovers I think I've ever seen. And then he went with Matt Ryan this year, and Matt Ryan's too old.
So now he's traded for Jimmy.
Yeah, no, seriously. And now they're saying Harbaugh might go there, which is interesting because, he played for Indy in the 90s.
Oh, that's right.
Jimmy has been really good. I mean, he's 128-51 as a college coach. He's, I think
what do you think?
He's 70-24 at Michigan. He was 49-22 at the Niners.
Does Michigan have enough to win it all this year in college?
Michigan?
Yeah. Do they have?
No. I think the Buckeyes beat them. We'll see. It's in the horseshoe.
This is honestly this year, just in general, and this football year has been like extra taxing. I feel like
Alabama's out and Clemson. Yeah. I think they're both out of it.
Alabama's had problems this year. I mean, to me, Georgia. Did you see Georgia against Tennessee? Georgia just took Tennessee apart. Georgia's awesome. Georgia's recruiting is awesome.
Oh yeah.
They're talented. And Kirby's smart, man. Did Georgia ever play a bad game? I mean, when was the last time you saw Georgia play a bad game?
I mean, honestly, the last time I watched them last year.
No, they beat Bama, right?
Yeah, the last time I watched them,
did they play twice or just once? Last year.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure.
If they didn't lose to Bama, then Georgia's has a big, huge winning streak.
Georgia beat Bama to win the national championship.
I remember that, but did they play in the?
Yeah, I'm sure they did. In the
SEC championship game.
Yeah, I thought Alabama won.
With Florida in that last year.
Yeah, Alabama did win. Remember, Mechie had those. They toasted.
That's right. Yeah, Alabama beat them, and then Georgia turned
the tables on them. We get this one too from Jaguar. It says, Krueg, crazy idea. Kyle hiring Frank Reich as an assistant coordinator, as an offensive coordinator. I think it would be smart. I think it would be really smart, to be honest.
The only thing that makes me a little off of Frank Reich is, I don't know. I don't like the fact that like his assistants have left and are now doing really well. It's kind of like they're Frank Reich. What?
He hired them,
Yeah.
I don't want to credit him for having assistants. They're doing well.
Got the same thing with
Shanahan's got the same thing, but it's kind of like the
Jets and Dolphins.
Like Frank Reich. It's the classic Frank Reich that got everyone onto Frank Reich. Everyone was like, oh, I don't know, maybe it was Frank Reich, not Doug Peterson. Like is it the Frank?
I personally think they've mismanaged the cap to some degree because I mean, if you think about it, look at their best players. Their best players play these non-essential positions. Darius Leonard. They spend huge money on Darius Leonard. They've got the highest paid guard in pro football.
Quentin Nelson. You mean
Quentin Nelson?
Yeah.
And they're paying some guys at non-premier positions, but overall, I still think Ballard is a tremendous GM, and I think Reich is a really good head coach. And I'm shocked. I am shocked.
Why does everyone Ballard? Okay, why is everyone so in love with Ballard? I just don't know enough.
I mean, I think Ballard's a really. I mean, he drafted Jonathan Taylor in the second round. Isn't Jonathan Taylor the best back in football? He drafted Quentin Nelson. He traded for DeForest Buckner. He's made some good moves. They just haven't gotten the quarterback.
I don't really like him just because like Cowherd. Like I think that like he's like buddies with Cowherd and like a bunch of guys in the media, and like they kind of like push like very pro Chris Ballard stuff.
I'll say this. I know some people who know him and hold him in really high regard. I thought he was one of the best young GMs in the game. Him, Tom Telesco from the Chargers, Les Snead from the Rams, Brett Veach from Kansas City. I thought these were the best young GMs in the game. So we'll see. I mean, time tells all, but you're right. I mean, and it's not always linear. I mean, the guy who to me deserves executive of the year is John Schneider for what he's done in Seattle. And there were people wanting to run John Schneider out of town. and he had made some really bad draft picks the last 4 or 5 years. But somehow this year they circled the wagons, made an incredible one-sided trade for Russell. Now have 5 picks in the first 3 rounds, 2 number ones, may wind up with a top 5 pick in a year where they make the playoffs, and drafted and acquired about 12 really good players this year. So John Schneider had an amazing turnaround.
Who in the actual hell is going to win Coach of the Year? I feel like there's 8 candidates, and I could be equally talked into any of them.
I mean, to me, it's Brian Daboll.
For the NFL?
Okay, it's Brian Daboll. I would say it's Brian Daboll, because what is that award? That award is what team does the best that was thought to, that's the difference between what they did and what they were expected to do was the greatest. And to me, that team is undoubtedly the New York Football Giants. Well, I would say Brian Daboll
what
over
about
Sirianni.
Pete Carroll, like they're lying 4.5 wins.
But I think that's, what
about the Jets? I think Pete
Carroll's got better talent than people think. But no, I would give that to John Schneider because I think that's personnel based. But yeah, you can give it to Pete too. Pete's been incredible.
Vrabel winning these, or like even just hanging in there.
Daboll with, turning Daniel Jones into something this year. I think I've been impressed with him. Sirianni,
Sirianni hasn't lost a game yet. And we have
a Howie Roseman one too. He could win the Executive of the Year.
Yeah, how about Kevin O'Connell? How about oh my God, we're missing a massive one. There's a massive one.
Well, Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel is one of them, but the other one,
Belichick.
Not Belichick.
Well, I think Belichick's doing a pretty nice
McCarthy?
job. Belichick's winning games
Mike McCarthy, possibly,
with Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones.
Wait, maybe it is. Was I thinking of Mike McCarthy? I don't think I was thinking.
It's Daboll. Nobody thought the Giants were going to be any good, right? Or it's Mike Smith from the Falcons, if you want to throw Mike Smith.
That's the other major one, Arthur Smith.
No, Arthur Smith. Yeah, Arthur Smith.
Wasn't the owner's name Arthur something too?
Arthur Blank.
Blank. Okay, yeah. I was whenever they say Arthur Smith, I was like, think of the. Hey,
the chat's saying Saleh.
Saleh's doing a tremendous job.
What have you done for me lately? Right, just beat Buffalo.
Yeah, so that's just what I mean. Like, there's like. For me, there's legitimately, like, depending on the day, I could be talked into like 8 to 10.
To me, it's Brian Daboll though, because look where the Giants were picked, and look at they're playing really well. They're playing everybody tough.
The Seahawks, you were on the Seahawks, but everyone picked the Seahawks to, like, people were picking them to be the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
Even the Bears are starting to I think Eberflus is doing a hell of a job.
Oh, yeah. He's turned kind of their offense completely around the last few weeks. And then Justin Fields, my goodness, is Fields.
After watching yesterday, Mike Vrabel does an incredible job. He's got he's got no receivers.
Everyone
he's got a quarterback
that's
raw as hell. And they're hanging with the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
They had 1 first down in the whole second half. They hung with the Chiefs and Arrowhead.
Yeah,
it's insanity.
I thought Jacksonville looked good at the beginning of the year too. So
I never counted Tennessee out. In fact, I think a few weeks ago I said
they have no receivers though.
Larry, you have them in our picks thing, and they're
what's our picks looking like? I think I got the Packers and I got the Packers, Niners. And Bucks, and I was like thinking,
this is the purpose of like why I wanted to do the picks thing, is not even just like, I just wanted to see like where our brains were that early in the season, like it's like a time capsule.
You have it. You're gonna pull it up.
I think I have it in PGA Draft.
Hey, I'm going to crash, guys, because
yeah.
I got
I
sat in today on
95.7
95.7 the game. Tomorrow, check me out at 3:00 with Ray Ratto. I'm sitting in again for Damon Bruce, who's battling some kind of head cold. So I'll be on tomorrow on 95.7 the game from 3 to 6 with Ray Ratto. Tune in because Michael Irvin's going to join us and Peter King. So Michael Irvin and Peter King.
Yeah, I'll look forward to it. It's only 125 here in Arizona. You guys early
that
for you
note,
guys.
we will see you tomorrow.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer the